morning, everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it's 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Happy Friday Eve. Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mack, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Carricker. Great to have you with us on the opening drive. Good morning, kids. How are we doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good.
Happy Friday Eve.
Yes, it's very hot and steamy outside today.
Beautiful day, though.
It is.
It is going to be a beautiful day. Looking forward to it. Brooke is wearing a cap if you aren't on the old YouTube, which, by the way, you can join free of charge. Air Alliance Team Studio Cam at YouTube. Just type in 101 ESPN.
Okay.
And it says birds.
Depends how you want to interpret birds.
Or maybe I just really like birds.
It could be. Caw.
Caw. You see, it's universal. It has many different meanings to it, but it's from Arch Apparel. I love Arch Apparel, and it's one of their Cardinals hats, and it just says birds.
Birds. I like it. White with red lettering. If you want to see it, you can just log on to the old Air Alliance Team Studio Cam.
Birds.
Birds.
Yep.
Cardinals with another day off today after the offense took one off yesterday, so they'll be off. Cardinals lost yesterday to the Pirates by a score of 5-0. 5-0. This is not exactly like a clean sheet that happens to St. Louis City SC. This is a little different.
Yeah, a little different, especially for the Cardinals, considering that they were drawing a season-high 9 walks to go along with 6 hits, going 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. Not great, guys.
For the 6 games on the trip, they scored 2 or fewer runs.
4 of the 6?
4 of the 6.
Not great.
So I guess as you go towards the trade deadline, you faced a lefty yesterday, and they're hitting .223, the average .623 OPS against left-handed pitching. You need a right-handed bat. You need some help in your rotation when Liberatore is your answer to go out there and pitch yesterday. And, you probably need a little help in your bullpen, too. That's where I've always gone. I think they need help with their bullpen. You're going to have short outings anyway. Most of these guys are not going 7 or 8 innings. So bolster one of the things that you think is a strength with this team, and that would be the bullpen. But I thought Liberatore, I don't know if they're doing him a favor by having him spot start and then go back to the bullpen and then a spot start and back to the bullpen. That's not an easy thing to do, and he's had to do that all year long.
In his last start, he was really good. He started against Atlanta in his last start. Now, granted, you have to go back to, let me get this one, June 26th, so it's been virtually a month since his last start. But he went 6 shutout innings against the Braves in his last start. And then a month later, he kind of gets lit up, and he throws 69 pitches in 3 innings. And you never know what to expect, but I don't think with many guys that are starting once a month, you know what to expect. So you got to do one thing. If you're going to start him, you have to make him a starter. And it appears as if they have looked at him as a reliever. And I thought, we all thought yesterday, okay, get 5 innings out of him and take your chances. But it just wasn't there for him yesterday.
No, and I agree with you, Dan. I think that just having the spot starts for him, it's not working out. I don't know if it does him any justice, and it really handcuffs your team in a lot of different ways because you're not able to utilize him in the bullpen. And it seems like he's best served in the bullpen right now, and it really handcuffs what you're able to do there.
And I think it tells you what they think of the minor league system right now with pitchers coming up and making a spot start. Now, if they're forced into that situation, they could always go down and get a guy and cross your fingers and see what happens. The other thing, too, though, if you went down to the minor leagues, it wasn't like a doubleheader and adding an extra player on your roster, so you would have had to make a move. And I felt like they probably looked at this as that Liberatore, man, if we can catch lightning in a bottle for this game, then move him back to the bullpen, we don't have to make the roster move. And I do think there's something to that, too.
Well, if they would have gone down to the minors, McGreevy has the most starts down there, and he was up last night. He's got a 4.45 ERA in 20 starts. Graceffo has 17 starts, 4.34 ERA in AAA. Adam Kloffenstein has 17 starts down there, a 4.74 ERA at AAA. Sam Robertson has made 11 starts, a 4.65 ERA. The star of the staff is Zach Thompson, 10 starts, a 3.97 ERA. And then Victor Santos has a half a dozen starts and a 6.54 earned runner average. So it's not as if the Cardinals have guys pounding on the door at the minor league level to get to the majors and start a game up here.
Now that you have the trade deadline looming, does this game, what you saw yesterday, and also the couple of series that you've seen, does it really highlight what you think this team needs? Dan, you mentioned the right-handed bat, which we've talked about with what this team needs offensively, some more consistency, but also some relievers. You need a stud lefty and righty reliever, and I know I've talked a lot about a starter, but can we all agree that the starter, if they're going to go get one, it needs to be a frontline starter, because anything else I don't think would actually help the starting rotation.
I thought the road trip was glaring on a couple of things. To your point, number one, against left-handed pitching, they need help from that side of the plate, right-handed side of the plate. The other thing is they need a high-leverage reliever, and whether it's a lefty or a righty, just give me a high-leverage guy. And I think that they missed that, especially with Romero kind of falling back to the pack, and he hasn't been great. You've seen some cracks in the armor with Kittredge. Helsley's been awesome. When he gets rest, he's unhittable. But I do think that they need a high-leverage guy to help in that bullpen, or even just an arm. I think there's some deficiencies there after you get from the quote-unquote big three that they fall off a little bit. So there are some guys that have tried to step up, Rycroft being one, Fernandez being another, but can you count on those guys going down the stretch? A veteran reliever, I think, would help this team.
I don't disagree with that. And by the way, it's my vision of the trade deadline is it's more from the first 102 rather than one or two games.
I'm with you.
I'm looking more big picture. But even if you look at a guy like Tanner Scott, who's been great for Miami, but this is a guy that's pitched in 42 games already, almost half the games.
I know where you're going. I've been thinking about this, how well they've been used too.
Right. It's very hard to find fresh arms at this time of year, regardless of the team that you're looking at to get it from.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that everybody's looking. The competition, there's a lot of competition right now. Mosaic has mentioned that as well. So I think at this trade deadline, though, if you want this team to go any further, there's some glaring needs. But at the end of the day, we're talking a lot about pitching. The fact of the matter is that a season-high 9 walks to go along with 6 hits, and the Cardinals were still not able to capitalize at the plate.
Yeah, and I look at, we're a broken record on this one, but Arenado and Goldschmidt. Yep. And when you look at left-handed pitching, you're thinking, okay, right-handed to complement that and say, they have to do damage, and since the All-Star break, they've got 4 hits apiece. Now, 3 home runs out of the 8 hits, but 4 hits apiece, and that's just not going to cut it. They ain't going to cut it.
No.
But what are you going to do? I mean, this is a large sample size at this point. You're not going to take them out of the lineup. They mean too much to this team, both defensively and what they can do offensively. But when they're inconsistent or not to the level that we've seen them before, that's a real problem with this team. And you just go back to the original point. They need these guys to be good. And when they're not, this team is not going to do a lot offensively. Now, the young guys, they've been great, but you also need the veterans to sprinkle in with this team.
Meanwhile, how important is sports in America? Yesterday, the NBA signed their 11-year, $77 million rights deal with Disney, NBC, and Amazon Prime. And Warner Brothers had a clause in their contract, which we don't know if it's enforceable or not, which allowed them to match a $1.8 billion a year offer that Amazon made. They decided to match. The NBA said, no, you can't match. And so Warner Brothers Discovery is filing a lawsuit against the NBA so that they can pay them $1.8 billion a year for 11 years.
It's incredible.
It is.
Yeah.
So we want to sue you so we can pay you $1.8 billion. I love it. I love it. That tells you, though, how important sports is to these companies and to these stations and to these networks, that you have to have it. It's going back to the original point, you think about how important sports is because it's live and news is live, and that's where you spend your money if you're an advertiser.
And sports is the ultimate reality TV. Hey, we're going to have live Sunday night and Tuesday night, is it, Matthew? Sunday night and Tuesday nights on NBC? I think they're going to have every Tuesday night during the season, NBC is going to be carrying basketball.
So what happens to inside the NBA?
Well, after next year, Charles is retiring anyway. So
you actually believe that?
I don't know if I believe that.
I kind of trust him. Yeah, I think he'll find other things to do.
I think he'll find other things to do, but I think there'll be the allure of getting behind the microphone. He's got things to say, man.
He does.
Here's one
got
thing.
things to say.
We're going to talk to Greg Amsinger at the bottom of the hour. And MLB Network's coverage during the postseason, especially, when they come on the air after the games, their ratings go up. And they don't have the games. They have pre-game and post-game, but they have a very entertaining and high-quality pre- and post-game show, even though they don't have the games. People make an effort to push that button and go to MLB Network. If they would do that, if TNT would say, okay, we're going to do Inside the NBA, but we're going to do it without games, I have to believe that their ratings, pre-game and post-game, would be higher than whomever they're going against that night.
Oh, 100%, because people are already so used to channel surfing and now stream searching at this point. They would go over and see it because you're so entertained by Inside the NBA. You tune in for those personalities.
I disagree. I think that as great as it is, and it's great, you still need the game to lead in. You still have to be there first. And I'm not sure people would be in the habit. You got to be in a habit on TV to go to something and say, I'm going to watch this, even if it's not the primary subject of that evening. I think you have to have a lead-in of a game to get people to go to it. Although your point is really valid, Randy, because if I'm going to watch the NBA, I can tell you this. I love watching the pre and the post.
Yeah.
More so than I like watching the game.
And here's the other question. It's also a matter of what your return on investment is, because they're paying Barkley $20 million a year. They're paying Shaq $20 million a year. I think they're paying Kenny Smith $15, and I think Ernie might be making $10 million a year, plus all the production costs that go with it. Is there any way that you can make money with the expense of that show if you don't have the games?
That comes down to your point. Do you get ratings off the pre and the post?
Yeah.
And if you do, then you can make some of that money back. And it's about, the other thing I was just thinking about with this too is it's a way to promote your product on the other stations and the station that you're on. So stay tuned. This is coming up. Stay tuned for tomorrow. This is coming up. You may want to be able to promote. But again, I don't know how much that makes a difference. I think it'd make a little bit, but not a ton.
And TNT likes sports. The Warner Discovery likes sports, and they just saved $2 billion a year. They aren't going to win in court. So they'll do something with that $2 billion a year.
I love what you said. We're going to sue you so we can pay you $1.2 billion.
$1.8 billion, yeah, it's amazing.
Or 1.8, whatever it is.
It's wild. We're off and running here on this edition of the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN. Brooke, Dan, Randy, and Matthew. And coming up, we've got Sick of It. All you need to do is text in 314-399-9646, 314-399. Dan's ahead of the game. Yo-ho! Let's
Trying
get
to
this.
change it up a little bit.
Okay, let's get in unison here. One more time. 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho!
I did the one.
He did his one.
I just changed
We'll
up
take
the
the one.
order
I'm
a
just
little
making
bit.
sure. Sick of It next on 101 ESPN. right, time for Sick of It here on 101 ESPN. Get your text in now. Brooke, what do you have? What are you sick of today?
So what I'm sick of is really bad endings to really good TV shows. I'm talking about series finale. They really draw you in with some great writing. You're hooked. And then it just ends in a really bad and frustrating way. I just started this new show. It's called Presume Innocent on Apple TV. You guys have heard me talk about it a lot. Really good with Jake Gyllenhaal. The ending, I'm not going to spoil it because it just came out yesterday. The ending was not great, in my opinion. It kind of frustrated me because it didn't make sense with the way that the storyline was going, and it was shocking in a bad way. So it just made me think of some really bad endings to great TV shows. What are some that you guys can think of? I think a lot of people talk about How I Met Your Mother, Seinfeld. What are some other ones?
Sopranos for me. I was built up for a great ending, and I didn't think it was a great ending. Left a lot of ends loose instead of just coming to a conclusion. I had to find out what happened to Tony Soprano. I didn't know. I'm not trying to, ruin a ending here,
Well,
but I'm
it's
left
been out
waiting.
for a while.
Yeah. I'm trying to wait for what happened to him. And I don't know, and I want to know what happened to Tony Soprano.
I think that's reasonable. I thought the Seinfeld, and that was one of my favorite shows of all time, maybe my favorite show, but the original finale was horrible, and it was so horrible that they actually remade it on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry David let them redo the finale because they knew how bad the Seinfeld finale was when they did it.
I hate it. Game of Thrones is another one where it just kind of felt like the ending was rushed. And I know that there's a lot of things that also happen behind the scenes where they just do need to end the show. And you can tell when you have a really good show and it just adds in a really, really bad way. Ozarks is another one that somebody
that was
texted
bad.
in. That was really bad. You could just tell they needed to be done with that show. And so they were trying to wrap it up in any way.
Spoiler alert, you had to allow Ruth to win there,
Absolutely.
right?
I
Yeah,
think
you
so.
should have.
Yeah. Well, when you're talking about spoilers, now the Sopranos one, Danny, I actually didn't have too much of a problem with.
Okay, what do you think happened to good old Tony?
He died. I think
You
that's
think
okay
so?
for me to
Oh,
say.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
He
that's
got
okay for me to say. But here's the
I'm
thing.
thinking he did too, but I just wanted him to go on so we could have maybe more Sopranos. He survived.
But what I liked about it, though, is that, remember, during the course of the series, who was it that one of the characters he was talking to about, like, where they were talking about death, and he was like, I think that everything would just go dark.
Yeah.
And then that's what happened to Tony Soprano at the end there. So I didn't exactly hate it. I understand why it's controversial because you want like a nice little bow to wrap up a really good series, but it left a lot of questions. And maybe one day they could, well, no, they can't.
Not now.
Not now. But with the other Sopranos, maybe they could do something.
Yeah, what happened to his son? Maybe
Yeah.
he becomes an
Daughter.
heir apparent, the daughter. Yeah. I want to know those things. Okay.
So, yeah, that's just my frustration is I'm sick of really bad endings to really good TV shows and movies. I know there's a lot out there like that.
So after watching Paul Skeens do what he did the other night, I went back and looked since June 30th to only 28 times in all of baseball. So basically the month of July, only 28 times has a starter gone 7 or more innings. That's it. I'm sick of it. I want to see a starter, and I know that how baseball is played 3 times through a lineup. Don't look at the eye test, at least generally speaking. Take him out of a game, the starter. I'm sick of it. I want to see a starter go deep. I think it adds intrigue to the game. You don't think that you were glued to that game with Paul Skeens going to the 9th inning and the reaction of the crowd and the way it was being played? It was fantastic. So I'm sick of starters not going deep into games.
Me too. I asked Danny Cox one time last year how he would react if somebody came out to take him out of the game in the 6th. And he said, I'd punch him.
Yep.
And he would.
He probably would.
Yeah.
I agree with you guys. Why is there this mysterious 100 pitch count that really pulls
It's
the
not
pitchers
keeping
out?
guys healthy. I don't know.
I have no idea.
Because we work on a decimal society that prioritizes 5, 10s, and 100s, and it's only because we're simple. We're animals, and we need simple things to make us not feel scared.
Why don't we go to 120?
Because that's not a round enough number for us. Our brain says, no, I don't like that.
125.
And you know how many people in this world can't have their volume setting on their TV on anything but 5, 0, or an even number?
How about gas? When you guys buy gas, does it have to end with a 0 or a 50 or something?
No.
No.
Yes.
I can't
Abso-freaking-lutely.
buy like $42.36 worth of gas. I've got to go up to a number that ends with a 5 or a 0.
Really?
Yep.
Why? Is it like a superstitious
That's some
thing?
OCD thing. I don't know.
I can do it if I let it. I can do it if I let my tank automatically fill up. But if I'm like doing it by hand and I like go over the dollar amount, I'm just going to the next dollar.
Yeah, me too. I just do that. Guys, along the same lines as Danny, I'm talking about pitching today. I'm sick of the Cardinals not being able to draft pitchers. Here we are, 2024, and we all know that the Cardinals came into this year with a starting rotation of which none have been drafted and stayed with the Cardinals for their careers. Obviously, Lance Lynn drafted by the Cardinals and came back. But last time the Cardinals had a drafted pitcher from their system that led them in ERA, a starter, was Jack Flaherty back in 2019. It's 2024 right now. And a lot of the same things happened, by the way, before that under this administration. And this is not indigenous to just the John Mozeliak administration either. Obviously under Walt Jocketty.
You're getting political with administration.
I am. You're the president.
I would prefer monarchy.
Operations. Okay, but well, it's not though, because it's ostensibly, allegedly, a democratic process that occurs there. But anyway, I think the Cardinals need to do a better job of drafting and developing pitchers, and I'm sick of the fact that they can't. You know, back in my day, they would draft and develop pitchers. I remember when they drafted and brought up Danny Cox in 1983, and he threw to your point, Dan, he threw 267 innings for them in 1985. Started like 36 games. He was awesome. He was great. 118. I want to draft and develop a really good pitcher. I'm sick of not being able to.
And I don't think you can knock the drafts overall. That's specifically what you're looking at pitching wise, because the 2020 draft. Pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, there are some that are experts at saying that could go down historically as a great draft, not just for the Cardinals, but in baseball. You know, they drafted Burleson. You got Mason Wynn. You got Brendan Donovan. I mean, you've got some really good players, position players that are ascending and taking the next step to being leaders of this team. But to the point of pitching, you got to hope that Tink Hence works out. You got to hope the young lefty that they have at AA works out. And maybe one of these guys at AAA works out. But to your point, you know, there hasn't been a ton here in the last 4 or 5 years.
Fair to say that the last great Cardinal regular season team was a 100-win team in 2015?
Pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
After John Lackey, you had Michael Wacha, drafted and developed by the Cardinals, 17-7 with a 3.38. Carlos Martinez, signed and developed by the Cardinals, 14-7 with a 3.01. Lance Lynn, drafted and developed by the Cardinals, 12-11 with a 3.03. Jaime Garcia, 10-6, drafted and developed by the Cardinals, 10-6 with a 2.43. 4 of your 5 were drafted and developed in 2015 for a 100-win team. So it can and has been done.
Don't you think, too, just look at how expensive the starting rotation is. I can't remember where they are right now, number-wise. Are they 6? And all of Major League Baseball with how expensive their starting rotation is because they have to go and get a lot of guys outside of the organization and pay them. So if you are able to develop, is it drafting and developing, or is it more on the developing process?
That's the big question for me.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer for that. I just don't. Maybe a combination of both. Mm-hmm. And I also think with pitching, you got to have a little luck. And also with drafts, you got to have a little luck. And that's just the way it goes. And I wonder, to your point, Randy, we'd have to go back and look at this, and I'm sure that you will, and be able to make an argument for it one way or another. How many teams are like that right now in baseball? You know what I mean? Like, how many teams have drafted 3 guys that are in their rotation right now? And I'm sure it's out there. I just don't know off the top of my head.
No, and you think about to both points. Number one, drafting, but who are the best guys? Are the guys that the current guys, aside from Lance Lynn, that have 2,000 strikeouts? Right? Verlander, Cole, Scherzer, Sale. Kyle Gibson would know off the top of his head.
He probably would.
Yeah, Verlander, Scherzer, Cole, Sale. We'll think of the Kershaw. The only one that's with his original team is Kershaw.
So it gives you an idea.
Yeah.
You know, the guys do bounce around. Other teams develop them, but they do make it to the major leagues.
Yep.
And Brooke is 100% right. If you can develop pitching and not have really just position players too, but have young talent that's cost controlled, man, does that make your job a lot easier than to plug and play and go out and get yourself some type of help free agency wise and keep your salary structure in check.
Yeah.
All right. What do we have in the text line, Matthew?
Excuse me. I'm sick of watching the Dodgers trade for Mookie Betts, sign Freddie Freeman, sign Ohtani, sign Yamamoto, trade for Kyle Glasnow, and still be in the market for difference makers. Sick of it.
Nobody is better. We talk a lot about their ability in L.A. to spend, which they, I think it was their president, Stan Kastner, maybe the owner, who said, we still haven't figured out where our ultimate budget is going to be. We haven't approached it yet, what our budget might be. But they do a sensational job of developing and hyping players. The kids that they traded, the catcher and pitcher for Scherzer and Trey Turner, they aren't that great. Gray, I think, is it JoJo Gray? Josiah Gray. And then the Keibert Ruiz, the catcher. They're pretty good, but not great. But they were rated, they were both, I think, top 30 prospects when the Dodgers traded them.
The Dodgers have a lot of resources and a lot of money that they are spending. When we're talking about pitching lab and developing players, the resources that they have for players is just insane. Wouldn't you say that it's a lot more compared to some of the other teams in the league?
I think everybody's catching up, and I think everybody has a different viewpoint of how they look at this. Not one size fits all, and I've seen that a lot across the board. But pitching labs are commonplace with major league teams, commonplace in organizations. And going back to the Dodgers, they said goodbye to James Paxton, who had been okay for them.
Yeah, 8-2.
Yeah. They just said now there had to be something underlying there.
Peripheral numbers were terrible.
He also had two really bad starts, like awful starts. When you watch him, you're like, oh, that's not good. I watched one of the starts, and I was like, oh, that's not good.
Right.
But still, I think they had won something like 10 of his 14 starts. And they say goodbye to a guy like that, where some teams would say, we can't afford to let that go. He gives us a chance to win.
I'm sick of all sports TV deals that force us into the world of streaming. Amazon sucks. NBA is going to lose money.
Well, Amazon's pretty good at making money, so I'm not worried about Amazon. We aren't going to need to hold any benefits for them, as Charlie Spoonhour would have said.
And they're not going to need help.
No,
I think my family's single-handedly keeping them just afloat.
And hey,
just afloat.
Yeah, no, there's a few families and households that are keeping Amazon on the map. But here's the thing. I'm 61 years old, and I still subscribe to Spectrum, and I like it a lot. But I know where everything is going, and ultimately everything is going to be on a streaming service. And that's the way we're all going to consume it, whether it's on our big screen smart TV or whether it's on our phone or our iPad. We're all going to consume sports that way. And I would think baseball, I don't know how much time the Cardinals have left on their Bally contract. I'm probably, 6-7 years. My guess would be that within a decade, every single baseball game will be streamed rather than fed over cable or satellite dish.
Oh, 100%. I can see that. And I understand that it's hard, especially with that transition over to streaming, but that is the way that things are going. Yeah. I like it, honestly, because I have it on my phone. I have Fubo. I said Fubo because that was the old clothing brand back in the 2000s. That was a throwback. But I have it on my phone, and I can just go anywhere in the house, just prop up my phone and still watch the game.
And I have to watch on a big screen. I just need to.
How big is you have a huge big screen, too.
It's like only 75 inches.
Oh, okay. I thought you had one of those big theaters.
No, I don't have an 85
Oh, okay.
Like that.
You're sitting there with popcorn like you're at a movie theater kind of thing?
I am a big believer in picture and sound quality, though. And with all due respect to everything streaming, picture and sound quality, I mean, cable never buffers. You never have any trouble. If your internet ever goes out, you don't have to worry about it. So there is something to be said for the picture and sound quality that is delivered over a hardwired situation.
I don't have Fubo.
Sorry, I threw you off a little bit earlier with Fubo. Is that even around anymore?
It is.
It is?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Jesus.
Oh, okay.
I have MLB.TV.
I have that, too.
And I can watch on my phone, except I can't watch a Cardinal game.
Right. Kind of stinks.
Yeah.
If you have T-Mobile, you get MLB.TV free.
I have seen that.
Yeah, pretty good.
Randy, we used to get like cool things through streaming, like shows would drop all of their episodes at once, and so you wouldn't have to wait. It was like a different way of having to not buffer. But now it's you get to watch shows buffer as you then wait for them weekly. So it's the worst of both worlds, and I hate it. It makes me so mad. There used to be like an actual difference between cable and streaming, and now it all sucks equally.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
It all
bad. We went from the golden age of television to this.
We did. By the way, the Cardinals number 7 in starting pitcher payroll right now. Texas number 1, Dodgers 2, Yankees 3, Blue Jays 4. Then the Giants, and they have Snell and Robbie Ray, who are making $46 million between them. And then Philadelphia 6, and the Cardinals are 7, ahead of the Cubs, Braves, Mets, Royals, Nats, Diamondbacks, Mariners, and Pirates. Bottom of the pack, as you might guess, among starting pitching payroll. What do you think the total payroll of the Oakland A's starting pitchers is? They only list 4. But J.P. Sears, Joey Estes, Hogan Harris, Mitch Spence. What do you think the total payroll of the A's starting rotation is?
$9.5 million.
Really? You think it's 9.5?
What do you think, Brooke?
Okay, maybe 20? Less than that?
$2,965,000.
Wow. Here's the other thing,
That is
Randy.
shockingly bad.
I don't know.
I was trying to be gracious there.
I don't know if we're having this conversation if Zach Allen is still here in Sandy Alcantara.
No.
Then you're saying, okay, they developed him, they're in the major leagues, and they're still cost controlled.
Dan, we have a segment coming up soon about a trade if you could undo it.
Okay, that's got to be
you
one
teasing
then for
ahead?
sure.
But
I didn't mean to.
Our next segment, Greg Amsinger, MLB Network, next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals fall in their series of the Pirates thanks to a 5-0 loss yesterday afternoon. They will be off today before they start a 3-game series facing off against the Nationals. Right now, Sonny Gray is projected to start that Game 1 matchup. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Brooke, Dan, Randy, opening drive 101 ESPN, and we head to the celebrity line where our buddy Greg Amsinger, lead anchor for MLB Network, joins us from Cleveland this morning. Greg, good morning. How you doing?
I'm about to be just immersed in card collectors. And have you ever been to any of these national card shows?
I never have, no.
Yeah, well, it's a thing, man. And these people are unique human beings, and there's going to be a lot of touching. And I'm going to be touching a lot of people today. It's going to be a thing, man. And I don't know when this show is going to air, but it's going to be a carded episode for the ages, trust me.
And tell us about Carded, because I don't know that a lot of people are aware that you have another show in addition to MLB Tonight on MLB Network.
Yeah, well, it airs on Sundays, but it gets the most eyeballs on MLB.TV. So if you're on .TV and you're watching your game, you'll see commercials for Carded. You can download episodes and watch it. It's all about the industry that is booming. And Alex Jaimo is this social media influencer. She is all about all of this stuff, big into cardboard, and she's an expert. Fun person to hang out with, and this is going to be the national convention of cardboard, essentially. So it's not just baseball cards, but it's all sports memorabilia, and especially, our focus is cards. So we are into it. It is an episode that you're going to be blown away by, because when I tell you billions of dollars of cardboard will be in this convention center in Cleveland, that is not exaggeration. Billions of dollars. The guy showed me a Babe Ruth rookie card, legit. And he goes, someone just offered me $500,000 for this. I said, no. I'm like, why are you just holding it in your hand right now? Like, I'm just envisioning someone just running by and snatching it and running away. You know what I mean? Like, you're holding a house in your hand right now, man. So this is what's going to be at the convention. I want to try to wrap my mind around it.
And Greg, we're going to talk baseball, but I want you to tell people about your career news.
Oh, yeah. Well, just this past Tuesday, I debuted on TBS. So MLB Tuesdays on TBS. I'll be with Pedro Martinez, Curtis Granderson, and Jimmy Rollins every Tuesday all throughout the rest of the season and into the playoffs. TBS has exclusive rights to the American League Division Series, the American League Championship Series. So I'm essentially doing the pregame and postgame studio work for them. So I'll be flying to Atlanta every Tuesday morning and then keeping my normal exhausting MLB Network job, which I love, every other day of the week. So, lots of stuff going on, but it's all baseball. So it really doesn't feel like work. The people there in Atlanta are awesome.
Congratulations, Greg. And we'll send a congratulatory cowboy hat your way.
You're salty. Sounds like we need to have a conversation, bro.
No, I feel like you need to have a cowboy hat. Well, of course, we have to ask you about a lot of the trade deadline stuff going on right now. A lot of big injuries in the National League. The Braves dealing with injuries. The Brewers now with Christian Yelich. Should this push the Cardinals to be more aggressive at the trade deadline?
Yeah, I completely think so. I don't know why. I personally am not hearing that the Cardinals are in contact with the Chicago White Sox like other clubs are in contact with the Chicago White Sox. I would be blown away if Chris Getz doesn't get an absolute haul for a package of Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert Jr. There are so many teams that need that combination of talent. The Cardinals have this plethora of position player talent that they don't know what to do with, that could be a franchise changer for a team like Chicago White Sox. To me, it's a fit. you'd have to pay a hefty ransom because Chris Getz is not making this move, the GM of the Chicago White Sox, unless he thinks he won the trade. And he deserves to win a trade when you're trading this kind of talent. The Philadelphia Phillies have been in contact with Chicago White Sox. Obviously, the Los Angeles Dodgers have been in contact with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He wants an absolute haul for both of these guys. And if the Phillies could Garrett Crochet, what I'm hearing is that they would use him in the rotation. And then come playoff time, since he's a seasoned reliever, he made his first big league start on opening day this year for the Chicago White Sox. He knows how to come out of the bullpen. Now you got a super reliever, a high-leverage, multiple-inning guy, which could be all she wrote for the Philadelphia Phillies, and they'll win the World Series, especially with Luis Robert in center field. I think the St. Louis Cardinals need to take advantage of the landscape right now and really be aggressive at the deadline because the team is good enough to make noise, especially when you look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers aren't what we thought they were going to be. So anything can happen. The Philadelphia Phillies are the heavyweight champ right now. As we look at the rest of this 2024 season, who can come get the Phillies? Well, everyone has a chance to be the second-best team. To try to pull off that upset, I think the Cardinals are in that mix.
Do you think this could be a boring trade deadline just because so many teams are in it and they're not sure what they want to do in terms of giving up assets and saying, you know what, we're okay where we're at and let's just move forward and see what happens?
Yeah, I'm always worried about that, Dan, and it's a great question. But every year, we're always taken aback by something. You know, the Marlins are going to trade Tanner Scott. We kind of get that. Garrett Crochet will definitely be gone. We've been talking about the really bad teams for a while, but it doesn't look like the Colorado Rockies are going to do anything. They're holding on to Ryan McMahon. It doesn't look like the Cincinnati Reds are absolutely going to have a fire sale. Bellinger might leave the Chicago Cubs, but I don't think they're going to trade any of their younger pieces. That's going to shock the north side of Chicago. As you go on the other side, is Brent Rooker really going to get traded? Maybe. I don't think Mason Miller is going to get traded, although that would be a huge headline attraction. 5 years of control for the best arm in baseball. There's a chance, Dan, that everyone could sit on their hands. Yes, there is a chance because they're all looking around going, wait a minute. I know we're terrible this year. We're having a bad year, but we're only 4.5 games out of the second wild card.
Exactly.
So that is really holding people back from deciding to go, you know what, everything's for sale. Pull into our driveway. That basketball that's deflated, give me a quarter, I'll sell it to you. No one's thinking that way right now. And hopefully that changes in the next couple of days.
Greg Amsinger with us on 101 ESPN. Greg, the Yankees started 50-22. Since then, they've gone 10-22. Who are the real Yankees, and are they in danger of missing the playoffs?
There are so many things going on right now with the New York Yankees. Juan Soto has them held hostage. They need Juan Soto in the worst way. The longer they let this play out, the more likely he's not going to be a Yankee next year. The price of poker is going to go way up. They need to throw hundreds of millions of dollars at him to get a contract extension before the season ends. He is that vitally important to that franchise. They have 2 hitters. They have 2 hitters. I mean, that was the game of the week that I was in Atlanta for on TBS. Mets Yankees. They walked Aaron Judge 4 times, only to pitch to him when he was the winning run in the 9th inning with a lefty on the mound. Made no sense. But anyway, they struck him out. They've got 2 guys. You're going to see Aaron Judge get Barry Bonds. It's coming. It's going to happen for the rest of the year. They have no length in their lineup. When J.D. Davis is your cleanup hitter, when Austin Wells is your those are your cleanup hitters. So there's a righty on the mound. This mustached catcher is your cleanup hitter behind Aaron Judge. And when there's a lefty on the mound, the guy that got DFA'd by the Oakland A's, J.D. Davis, is your cleanup hitter. He is your protection behind Aaron Judge. It is a roster that fell apart quickly. It's odd. It's weird. They didn't have Garrett Cole, and Aaron Judge was terrible in the month of April, yet all they kept doing was winning. So we were like, whoa, Aaron Judge is going to get hot, and here comes Garrett Cole, everything's going to be great. And they're not winning. It's odd. I don't know what they're going to do. I think if Aaron Boone doesn't make it to at least the American League Championship Series, he's in trouble because this team has gone south quickly. And as we look at the landscape of the American League, all of a sudden my eyes are gravitating to the Houston Astros again as a team that could go to the World Series. That is how crazy this 2024 season's become.
I know, by the way, the Rangers are only 3 games back in that division, too, and they're getting everybody back.
They are, but I've been hearing they're thinking about trading and selling, believe it or not, because I think they know they just don't have it this year. If they make moves, if Max Scherzer could be on the move, Eovaldi on the move, they might try to be one of those teams. And you'll see a couple of clubs do that this year, by the way. The Rays are going to buy and sell. The Rangers could buy and sell. This is like this new way of navigating the waters of the trade deadline, where you're positioning yourself for the next season, right, by cashing in on some assets that you don't want to pay. The Tampa Bay Rays are going to do that. Zach Eflin's gone. They're not going to pay him. I think he makes $14 to $18 million next year. They're not paying that. So they're going to move him, get some young pieces that will be quick to the big leagues, ready to help them next year. So that will be another theme that we should expect to see on Tuesday.
Greg, going back to Christian Yelich and that injury, because it seems like he may need season-ending surgery, how huge of a blow is that to the Brewers?
It's huge. I mean, thankfully, Jackson Chourio, the youngster that they gave a big contract to before he ever played a game, started to get his sea legs and starting to play like an everyday big leaguer. But they don't have a lot of thump in that lineup in the outfield, especially without Christian Yelich. And it's so sad because he had found it again. And he's bad. This is his third injury this year. So when he was playing, he was effective. Early in the year, it looked like he was going to be a 40-homer guy again, which we hadn't seen forever. So I love Christian Yelich as a player. He had some of the best MVP seasons we had seen in the last 20 years. But I just don't think his career is going to be what it was. And this is heartbreaking for him. And if you're the Brewers, you have to be aggressive. You're in first place. You're getting Devin Williams back to a bullpen that had held everything together for you. You do not have starting pitching depth. Colin Ray has been really your money guy behind Peralta, who's got the swing and miss, but he's kind of been disappointing this year. You're going to have to do something to give Pat Murphy and his staff some sort of gift for doing what they did this year. It was egg on the face to see Craig Counsell leave to go to the Cubs. Now they're in last place. The Brewers are still in first, and you've got to give that staff something to say thank you for making us competitive and entertaining this year. The Yelich injury will kickstart some sort of move for the Milwaukee Brewers. Who that is, I'm not expecting them to go get Luis Robert. I'm not expecting them to get really a grade A outfielder, but they're going to mix and match for sure.
Man, I loved what I saw to Derek Shelton the other night, the manager of the Pirates, and he said, Paul Skeens, go win it. And you just don't see that in this day and age of baseball.
You know what, Dan? The more I watch the way they're dealing with Paul Skeens, the more I think they're not going to Steven Strasburg this guy. Do you remember when Strasburg was like, I'm done? And then the Washington Nationals were in a playoff mix, and their best pitcher was like, we're shutting him down. That wasn't his call, but it was Mike Rizzo in the front office of the Washington Nationals. How did that all end? It ended with an injury that he cannot pitch, and there were 6 or 7 years left on a massive contract that has hamstrung that organization. So he got hurt anyway. And I think the Pittsburgh Pirates are looking at all of it, and they're looking at the guy. I mean, when he warms up, he's throwing the football 80 yards, folks. Paul Skeens is built differently than every other pitcher. He is a huge human being standing next to him. He's got the moxie of a Nolan Ryan. He wants to be great. He knows he's better than everyone else. I think the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to take the kid gloves off. I don't think they ever had him on, this guy, and they're going to treat him like the ace of their staff. Even though he's young and the most innings he's ever thrown in a single season is 127. I don't think Paul Skeens cares about that. I don't think he cares. And the Pirates are in the mix, and he's win day. He has become win day. And when you've got that on your side, you're a scary club. You do not want to face the Pittsburgh Pirates in a wild card series or a division series if Paul Skeens could be a guy you face once or twice. He's that good.
All right, Greg, before we let you go, I'm going to put you on the spot. Next Tuesday night, give me the name of a new Cardinal.
Ooh, that's so good. It's going to be a starting pitcher. I think it's going to be Tyler Anderson of the Angels.
Nice. Okay, he's had a good year. He's not had not a great career, but had a good year.
People will pay for the swing and miss, and he doesn't have it. But he's going. It kind of falls in line with other moves the Cardinals have made. If you look back throughout their history, like the Quintana move, other starters that they go get, that Montgomery, guys that they believe in that can give them innings and bulk. And I think Tyler Anderson fits that vibe for the St. Louis Cardinals.
And you're going to interview the Guardians manager, Stephen Vogt, today. He's instant offense, right? He's one of those guys where you're going to have a great conversation, and there'll be a lot of good conversation that's left on the cutting room floor from that interview.
The interview is going to be great. It's going to air Friday morning on MLB Central. Later, the entire interview will be on MLB Tonight. I did a Greg's List where I ranked the top managerial performances of 2024, and he's number one. And I don't think you can argue with it. It's one thing to go in with lofty expectations, but when you have to replace a legend and you have to walk into a culture that everybody already loves and the players don't want to change the culture, and you still have to put your stamp on what this organization is doing, it's going to be great. I'm going to grill him on what the Guardians should do at the trade deadline. I mean, this team is. I mean, when you look around, the Astros are coming, the Yankees are falling, the Orioles clearly have lack of starting pitching depth. Why not the Guardians? If they made a move, a significant move to add to this lineup that has been dramatically improved, why not go get another starter to get the best bullpen in baseball? I'm going to grill Stephen Vogt, who is a friend of mine, by the way, a former moonlighting colleague of mine. He is a good friend, and I'm going to go at him. The Guardians need to be aggressive because this could be their time to get back to the World Series.
Is Oli Marmol on your Greg's list of the 9 best managerial performances this year?
He was number 9, Randy. He was number 9. It was a polarizing decision in the studios. My guys thought I was being a homer, but I said, no way. Everything's had to deal with. Arenado Goldie having bad years. One of the oldest rotations in baseball, leaning on and managing a bullpen that he has done a terrific job with clear roles for all the guys that are back there, and not having any continuity in the outfield. So, yeah, Oli Marmol was number 9 on Greg's list.
Awesome.
Yeah, he deserves it. He deserves it.
Greg, have a great day. Thanks for your time, and we'll talk soon.
All right, you guys are the best. Take care.
See you, brother. That is Greg Amsinger, product of the Lindenwood University, a native of St. Louis, and the lead anchor for MLB Network. And now Tuesday nights on TNT, doing the pre and post with TNT Baseball. Coming up next, we've got a quick take it or leave it. Get your text in, 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! TIOLI next on 101 ESPN.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
I didn't know the mics were on.
They are. Time for TIOLI here on 101 ESPN. All right, kids. Lincoln Riley, head coach at the University of Southern California, in the midst of a 10-year, $100 million contract, said yesterday at Big Ten Media Day about USC, we're playing catch-up. We're playing catch-up in facilities. We're playing catch-up in NIL. We're playing catch-up in resources within the program. We've been playing catch-up in damn near every way you can think.
Wow.
Take it or leave it. Lincoln Riley is headed down the same path as Jimbo Fisher, and he's going to get fired in the midst of a $100 million contract.
Oh,
I'm going to take it.
So, yeah.
I'm going to take it.
What an excuse.
He's rolling out every excuse in the book as to why they're not winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And kind of inexcusable, honestly.
It's USC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
You got to be able to get players.
Yeah. And
as long as you pay them.
Hey, well, but is there the thing that I think makes USC great is that it is the one major town that really cares about college football. Chicago doesn't care about college football. New York doesn't care about college football. San Francisco doesn't care about college football. In L.A., they love USC. They love UCLA, but more, they love USC. And if there's any place in America where name, image, likeness is going to generate money for college athletes, where else but L.A.?
Yep.
Yeah.
You can put them in movies.
You can put them in movies.
Yeah,
There's
good.
plenty that you could do there. What is going on with USC and UCLA? I feel like they've really fallen off.
Yeah, they're going to have a rough go in the Big Ten, too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, okay, take it or leave it, guys. The White Sox, they lost to the Rangers last night to a score of 10-2. That is pretty bad. So they are now at 27-77 on the year. Take it or leave it. The White Sox will finish with under 45 wins this season.
I'm going to take that, Brooke.
27. Yeah. And they're going to get rid of some players. So I'm going to take that.
42 and 120?
Ooh,
tie the Mets?
It's going to be close. We were talking about that the other day. It's going to be really close if they get to that mark. In modern day baseball, how does that happen? They're not an expansion team. Go out and spend a little money. Maybe you have a pick or two that turns out to be a good player. Man, that's hard to do, but they're doing it.
Well, here's the fun part, too, is that they can't even pick better than 10th in the draft next year.
Oh, it is that. Okay.
So
Wow.
they are currently on pace, by the way, for 42 wins this year.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with Greg on his number one manager in the game today. So the Brewers, with their Cy Young Award winner Corbin Burns gone, manager Craig Counsell gone, their top two veteran starters Brandon Woodruff and Wade Miley out for the year, all-star closer Devin Williams still out, all-star Christian Yelich could be done for the year. Take it or leave it, Pat Murphy is the National League Manager of the Year.
Oh, I'll take that.
Oh, yeah, that's really
He's
good
got to
point.
be.
Yeah.
I think he's the number one manager,
That's
too.
a great point.
How they've been able to pull all that off, I am completely shocked.
And they've used so much starting pitching now, and they're going to get better. They're going to get a starter back. They're going to get Devin Williams back. That should settle their bullpen in the back end of games. They are going to get better. Now, losing Yelich is going to be huge, but pitching-wise, they're going to improve here in the next probably 2 weeks.
All right, Matthew, what do you got for us on the text line? Let's see on the text line.
Take it or leave it. Dylan Carlson will be the first player traded by the Cardinals.
Take it.
Ooh, yes, I will take it.
I'm going to take it, too. Give him a fresh start.
Yeah. Did not look good yesterday.
I still think there's value with him. It may not be the value that Dylan Carlson possessed a few years ago, but if you're a lesser team, change of scenery, I still think that there's value with him.
I think the
agree.
change of scenery thing is the big part there.
Yeah.
Teams look at him, give him a chance to play every day. Switch hitting outfielder can play all three outfield positions. Center field, he's not great, clearly, but he can play all three. I think there's still value there. Not a lot, but there's value.
Take it or leave it. The Cardinals' priority list at the deadline should be in this order: bullpen depth, starting pitching, right-handed bat.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I'll take that.
Say that again, Matthew.
Bullpen pitching,
Yep.
starting pitching, right-handed bat.
I'd flip-flop starting pitching in a right-handed bat.
See, that's my thing. Is like, is this recency bias from this series of being so offensively challenged that we're thinking that, Dan? Like, are we kind of buying into a little recency bias with the post deadline, just kind of flub of the offense? the last two series.
Well, here's the other thing, too. With Palante in July,
That's true.
You make case that he's been your best pitcher.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would hate to move him to the bullpen. Now, you'd kill two
Squirrels with one tire.
Yeah, there you go.
Kill-
Trying to think that way. You could move him to the bullpen. That would help
Birds.
out there. You're not going deep into games with your starters anyway.
Right.
I heard you. I just said stones and birds and squirrels and tires.
Birds. Birds. We don't want to kill birds.
Birds. No, you do not.
No.
Well, and I think the other part of this, though, too, that I'm thinking with starting pitching and why that should still be a priority is for the playoffs. I know that a lot of people don't want to hear that right now after the performance yesterday. We're being very reactionary with that, which sucks. But if you want to go deeper in the playoffs, you need another frontline starter, and you have to think outside of just this season, but next season, what your starting rotation will look like.
By the way, speaking of being able to kill two birds with one stone, did you hear that the Giants are moving Jordan Hicks to the bullpen?
Yep.
To get Robbie Ray back and Hicks. He's one of the few people that throws hard enough to kill two birds with one stone. So it popped into my
I
mind.
just have a quick, where in Fenton were you when you first heard the two squirrels, one tire joke?
I don't know. I don't remember. But it's a very common phrase, and it's much more likely to do that than it is to do two birds with one stone.
Take it or leave it. Trade Jordan Walker while he still has value. Heck, put him in that crochet deal.
I'm going to leave it. As much as I am concerned about Jordan Walker's viability as a star with the Cardinals, the other night he went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. He did have a couple of doubles last night. I keep an eye on him. But he's the only even chance you have at a right-handed hitter in this lineup in the future. And he's only 22.
Yeah, I'll have to leave it.
I think you got to remember he's only 22.
Yep.
I'm still bullish on that.
And I hope the Cardinals don't have such an ego that they think that they can fix him by themselves. If they can get him with Matt Holliday, get him with Mark McGwire, get him with somebody, one voice, a singular voice during the offseason, somebody that is a really good hitting teacher, I would hope that the Cardinals would do that.
I think you hit it on the head, Randy. And I don't know the answer to this, but how many voices is he hearing right now? And he's not having success. So you're getting it from one side, getting it from another, maybe even teammates. You're asking, what am I doing? I mean, you're just getting a lot of voices in your head. And I happen to agree with you. Go to a drive line or somewhere like that. And I bet he's done this and will do it. But get a singular voice that can help him and feel comfortable again and get him back to where he was.
And just think about the voice that he's hearing publicly from the Cardinals. When you get sent down, you say, okay, we want to have you improve pitch selection and we want to have you change your swing. Okay? So that's what he goes down to do. Then all of a sudden he does it. His production drops off, and they say, well, now it's all about production.
Yeah.
So even their public statements about him are confusing.
I think it'd be great also just to talk to some of the other veterans in that room, which is kind of the part where I do wish he was around. I know that he's not, production-wise, it's not there, so I understand why he's in the minors, but to learn from some of these veteran voices of how to really handle and listen to what you need to listen to in order to perform, I think that would be very valuable. You see Matt Carpenter, the advice he's given to Alec Burleson. Brandon Crawford has also been a great resource in that room for players. I think that would be huge for him. I think Alec Burleson would be a great person to talk to about his offseason, what he did. He didn't go to Driveline or any sort of specialization like that. He just did the same thing he normally did. He also played pickleball. That's what helped him get into shape, actually. And he said it actually worked with his hand-eye coordination, too. So maybe there would be some players that he could talk to that could help him with that.
I just got to remember he's 22, and I still think the upside is enormous, and I bet he has one hell of a big league career before it's all said and done. Could be wrong, but that's where I think he's going.
The current OPS down at Memphis for him after going 2 for 4 last night is 669. At least it's not 666. That would be even worse.
Yeah.
Numerically, it'd be 3 points worse.
Yes.
Coming up, why would the Cardinals not want to be aggressive at the deadline? That's coming your way on 101 ESPN.
I think the St. Louis Cardinals need to take advantage of the landscape right now and really be aggressive at the deadline, because the team is good enough to make noise, especially when you look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers aren't what we thought they were going to be. So anything can happen. The Phillies are the heavyweight champ right now. As we look at the rest of this 2024 season, who can come get the Phillies? Well, everyone has a chance to be the second best team to try to pull off that upset. I think the Cardinals are in that mix.
Greg Amsinger, MLB Network, earlier here on 101 ESPN, where it's 8:12. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. At The Athletic, Katie Wu says the Cardinals don't plan to be aggressive at the deadline. But I'm kind of in the camp of what Greg said, especially when you look at what's happened in baseball with the lowest seeds in the National League over the course of the last, 4 full seasons. More often than not,
Just get in.
Every time it's been Atlanta or Arizona, lowest seed last year. Philly the year before. Atlanta the year before. You had the Dodgers in the COVID season, which I kind of throw out. Before that, it was the Nationals. The lowest seeded team in the National League over the last 4 full seasons has made it to the World Series. So if you're the Cardinals, why wouldn't you be aggressive enough to get to the playoffs?
I think that you should be, especially with what's going on right now in the National League. You've started to see some cracks with teams. The Braves losing yesterday. They've had a lot of different issues going on. I know that they always continue to find a way. It's a very talented team, but you can't ignore the amount of injuries that they have that are continuing to happen. They also had a players-only meeting the other day, which could be a good thing. We have seen that in Cardinals history actually work out for them, of course.
They need Tommy Pham.
They need to. They need Tommy Pham to go in there and say, "What, Randy? You think I need like a Tommy Pham speech?"
Yeah. Oh, Charlie Morton said his thing, and then Austin Riley said his thing, and I said my thing.
And then Tommy
pretty
Pham
much nails it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think being bold would be a good thing. I think it's something that Cardinals fans are wanting to see from this team. And for John Mozeliak, he's coming towards the end here. I know that he's not leaving the Cardinals organization, but why not be aggressive at the trade deadline? We've seen where it benefits a lot of other teams. Look at the Rangers last year. They went and got Jordan Montgomery. They went and got Scherzer. Of course, he was injured, but still being bold really works for a lot of teams.
I think every team would love to say that in terms of a fan base, like go for it, go for it, go for it. And I get it. But part of this, there's twofold to me, is number one, you have to ask the question, are you really good enough? Are you really good enough? And then secondly, are you willing to give up a lot for just the chance to move in the playoffs when you look at how teams, as you just chronicled, Randy, how teams, once they get in, have success. And I think you can patchwork this a little bit and still get in the playoffs and then take your best chances.
Do you think, though, that the Cardinal fan base, when you look at the stands, do you think the Cardinal fan base needs to be re-energized a little bit? Given a reason to buy tickets and come out to the ballpark?
I think so. And that's why I'm saying that why not try to be aggressive? Go and get some of those things. You have the ability to do so. Maybe go get a starting pitcher. Bullpen help, I think, would even be a huge boost for this team. A right-handed bat. Being in those conversations is one thing, but actually making that kind of aggressive move, I think, would really kind of benefit the team and the fan base. They have worked really hard, especially with what they were able to do in the first half of the season. And what's another conversation that we always have, too, surrounding the Cardinals and trades? They hold on to talent for too long. So why not utilize that at this trade deadline?
Now, yesterday, Jim Bowden was on with BK and Ferrario and was asked about the level of aggressiveness the Cardinals should engender during the course of this trade deadline week.
When I was on with you last time, I told you guys the Cardinals are not a playoff team. I'm going to come on again today and tell you they are not a playoff team. However, I have been impressed how they have played. And I've been really unimpressed about the National League in general. And so we have real parity where, yes, you have a chance to win. But in my opinion, and certainly I don't have all the answers and I don't have the crystal ball either, I probably think the Cardinals are going to finish in third place and outside of the wild card right now. But let's see what they do next week.
Yeah, and if you look at rosters, you wouldn't say, especially without Yelich, that the Brewers are a playoff team. The Mets are flawed. The Padres are flawed. The Diamondbacks are flawed. The Pirates are flawed. It's not like there are a lot of playoff teams running around in the National League. You have the Dodgers and the Phillies, and then after that, I think you can put every team in the same boat. And if you take it by what Bowden says, you could say every team, aside from those two, is not a playoff team.
And look, the Cardinals definitely have some cracks. And somebody texted that in because I said, you're seeing cracks with some of the other teams right now. The Cardinals have their issues. We talked about it. They need a right-handed bat. They need some more pop. They need Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt to produce better than what they have. Dan, you talked about the recent numbers earlier. You need more from those guys. But why not also make some additions? Because you have put yourself in a position to be in this conversation into the playoffs. Why not push yourself over the edge? If anything, if I'm in the fan base and I'm looking at that, I would be more frustrated if they didn't make any aggressive moves at the trade deadline.
So how would you term aggressive?
I would be in the camp of getting a frontline starter, going out and getting Eric Fetty, somebody who actually makes sense. If it's not somebody who's actually a frontline starter, then I don't think it really makes sense, because then you're just adding another 4 or 5, which you have enough of in your starting rotation currently. But the reason I say Eric Fetty or somebody like that is because you also have to think outside of this season. And we just talked about pitching and pitching development with the Cardinals and how they're struggling with that. The starting rotation is expensive, and you still have to address needs next year with the starting rotation.
Man, I can make a case for all three.
Yeah.
All three aspects. Get a right-handed bat because of what they did yesterday. For the 6 games on the trip, the offense scored 2 or fewer runs. I could say go get a top-line starter. That would help. And I'd also say bullpen help. I can make a case for all three. And right now where it gets, you got to think about it, too, from their perspective, where it gets interesting. They're now tied with San Diego in the wild card, trailing now the Mets and Atlanta. Arizona's a half game out. Pittsburgh 1, Cincinnati 4, San Francisco 4.5. The Cubs are 5. I mean, it's tight. So there's going to be a lot of teams that are looking to improve their lot in this, and I think it's going to be very tough for them to go out and do big things. But I think you can do some patchwork.
Mo, B, aggressive. B-E, aggressive. A-G-G-R-E-S-S-I-V-E, aggressive.
Well, I have Mo's burner right here, actually. At some point, you have to accept that this is not going to be a strong playoff team. So continue to trade young talent, and depth for rentals will keep this team mediocre. It's a great season compared to last year. Use it as a stepping stone and figure it out in the offseason, especially considering your competitors have shown a lot more history to being aggressive at the deadline
What
than
about
you.
old people, though?
What about old people?
We might be dead by next
No, we
year.
already established this. We established this back in the streaming segment. We don't care about them.
Okay, so a right-handed bat, we talked about that. That's something that you definitely need to you need for this team, because offensively, you've seen struggles. We talked about yesterday, 9 walks, 6 or 7 hits, and they still weren't able to capitalize, and that's a trend that you're seeing here recently. That was a season high for them. But still, at the same time, maybe you do go be aggressive, get a Brent Rooker. Because you could keep him around for the team, not just this year, but also in the future.
That price tag is going to be really, really high, because I think a lot of teams would want him. And you're right, Brooke. I mean, he would look great in a Cardinal uniform. I think there's validity to what the texter said, too. Is you're going to get a lot of money off the books, potentially, with your starting rotation. So patchwork this thing, get in, see what happens, and then try to reload in the offseason, because you're going to have flexibility.
By the way, speaking of the wild card race, Robbie Ray came back for the Giants last night. 5 innings. He allowed 1 run on 5 no-hit innings. He allowed 1 run against the Dodgers last night. So Robbie Ray is back. Blake Snell is pitching well for them. They already have Logan Webb. So beware of the Giants, too, who are hanging out in that wild card race. That's Brooke. That's Dan. I'm Randy. Coming up, if you could do any trade that your favorite team in any sport has made, what would it be? That's next on 101 ESPN. Text in 314-399-9646, 314-399 yo.
Yo ho! Oh, that was quick, Randy.
I know. I'm all over it here because we're
up against it.
Well, because of Greg, he talks a lot.
We do ask him a lot of questions.
We ask him a lot, too. All right, so you can have one trade back that your team made, your favorite team. Guys, for me, it's Chris Pronger for Eric Brewer. I don't trade prongs. And I think we might have gotten Jeff Wojcicka in that trade, too, the very memorable Jeff Wojcicka.
And Doug Lynch.
Yeah, Lynchy.
Yep.
So I don't think that I would have done that trade then, and I certainly would like to have it back now. I don't think it's a coincidence that when Pronger went to the Oilers, they went to the finals. When he went to the Ducks, they went to the finals and won. When he went to the Flyers, they went to the finals. And I believe that if a team is built under the correct circumstances, that he would have led a team in St. Louis to the finals as well before we got to a final and won it in 2019. So Chris Pronger to Edmonton for Eric Brewer, Jeff Wojcicka, and Doug Lynch.
That's a really
Give me that
good
one
one.
back.
Yeah, there's so many, but I want to look specifically at the Cardinals. Now, this is kind of a recency. Hindsight is 2021, okay? But the Marcell Ozuna trade, he was exactly what the Cardinals needed at the moment. He was coming off of a 40 home run season with a Gold Glove, and the Cardinals really needed that pop in the middle of the order. But at the time, we thought that things were going to work out pretty well. He was fine, but you traded away Sandy Alcantara and Zach Gallen. And we're talking about starting pitching, how much that is needed with this team, especially cost controlled. That's something that would have been huge for the Cardinals to be able to keep. Now, I know that at the time, I don't know if it was, I wouldn't say that it was the most controversial trade, but just looking back now at it, you wish you probably wouldn't have done that.
Everybody was thrilled to get Ozuna. Nobody knew what Alcantara and Gallen were going to become.
So that's a recency bias one.
Yeah.
I think another one is Steve Carlton. I think it's one, not just for the Cardinals, but probably one that a lot of people would talk about undoing. One of the most lopsided trades ever in history.
It's a few $1,000s that they were negotiating over, and Tim McCarver told me the story that Steve Carlton was walking down the hallway to sign the deal to stay with the Cardinals and then was traded. Ouch.
Unreal.
Ouch.
Wow.
And Al Roboski says that cost the Cardinals 4 division titles, 4 playoff spots in the 70s, not having Steve Carlton.
And you had Jerry Royce, you had Steve Carlton. You could have had, Jerry Royce, Steve Carlton. There was a number of players that they had that would have put them over the top, undoubtedly.
Yep.
I'll go recency bias since Liberatore pitched yesterday, and you're still trying to figure out who is he and what can he do. And then you saw the amazing performance that Randy Arozarena had in the postseason. So I think that's one, and with the need of a right-handed bat, outfielder primarily, Randy Arozarena would be the one that comes to mind. I still think, though, you can't make a full evaluation until guys are out of the game. You know what I mean? And you never know. Liberatore may turn out to be somebody that is Andrew Miller before it's all said and done and gives you 3 or 4 great years of being a lefty out of the bullpen. But that's one that I'm sure hurts the Cardinals right now. And then the Gallen Alcantara deal it really sticks out like a sore thumb.
All right. Since we're doing redos, Matthew had a fun one. Matthew, what was yours? And not that it would have made any difference in the future location of the franchise, but which one did you?
Trading up for Tavon Austin always bothers me. But then again, you correctly pointed out, Randy, it's less of the actual trade up, because actually trading up for an offensive playmaker at the time actually was kind of a beautiful thing when you think about it for the Rams. It's just that running a 5'6", 160-pound wide receiver up the middle on halfback dives isn't a smart way to use him.
Well, and they let Danny Amendola go. Yeah. And if we're doing a redo here, they could have stayed at number 16 and taken DeAndre Hopkins.
But he's like 6'4", 200 pounds. How are you going to use him?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. How do you figure out that?
Yeah, I don't. What do you? Come on, Randy. Jesus.
Yeah. So
a Clemson team too. They're broken.
Yeah, it's amazing how many. If we go back and look at the Blues, how many of the Blues had over the years.
Oh yeah.
So it's they made a lot of the Rod Brindamore trade for Murray Barron and Ronnie Sutter. You would have liked to have had Brindamore for his career.
I would have. I still go back to the Pronger deal because they had guys that were ready to ascend, and they just let players walk. Remember that? And they had players that were ready to ascend. And if you have Pronger in that locker room and on the ice in his prime, it's a different team.
How about this one? Ronning, Momesso, Courtnall, Dirk for Garth Butcher and Dan Quinn.
That one sticks out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might have been a Stanley Cup team if you don't trade your second line.
I was thinking about this one, and the text line just brought it up. 618, Mark Mulder for Danny Herron.
Yeah. Oof, yeah. That did not work out. You definitely would have liked to have had that one back.
I wonder, in retrospect, if the Cardinals got a bill of goods with that. Was he hurt? Mm-hmm. Was Mulder hurt when he got to St. Louis? He just wasn't the same guy with velocity and the way that he's throwing and his motion towards the plate. He just wasn't the same guy.
There are so many. I mean, the lopsided ones always stick out. Just going back to Steve Carlton, the ripple effect of that too. And with the Ozuna trade, somebody pointed this out, and I think this is always an interesting part of the conversation about if they also could have gotten Yelich in that situation.
But the likelihood was if they would have just sat pat, the package that Milwaukee gave up for Christian Yelich, who the Cardinals were told wasn't available, the package that Milwaukee gave up for Christian Yelich, the Cardinals could not have matched.
Right.
They gave up two of the top 5 prospects in baseball. Now, did they work out? No, Brinson never turned out to be anything. The second baseman never turned out to be anything. But at that time, two of the top 5 prospects in baseball for Yelich.
I think Louis Brinson was... Yeah, definitely top 5. And he goes to Miami and never worked out for them. I remember seeing him in spring training every year, and we'd say, this is one of the top prospects in baseball. And I want to say he went back to football. Yeah, he started playing football again after baseball was done.
He did. He bounced around. I think he was with the Giants for a while. I think he actually wound up back with the Marlins and then went back to football. The other guy, the second baseman in that trade, let me get to it. By the way, we've gotten lucky. We wouldn't take the Brett Holt deal back. We wouldn't take the Lou Brock deal back. We wouldn't take the McGuire deal back. TJ, I know you're listening. Sorry. TJ Matthews listens every day, all day. We love him.
Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah,
Ryan O'Reilly
wouldn't take the. Some people would like to have the Ryan O'Reilly deal back.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
But they still would.
Always a Stanley Cup every single day. It was 100% worth it.
Matt Holliday, Brad Wallace, Clayton Mortensen, Shane Peterson, and I think they gave up a little cash to get him. And Holliday winds up being a Cardinals Hall of Famer.
Nolan Arenado, that trade.
Yep.
Pretty good.
That was pretty good. Yeah.
Monty Harrison, by the way, was the second.
There you go.
In that deal. So, that wound up being a really good deal. But actually, how about this? So you hate the fact that the Cardinals wound up with those guys. How would you have liked to have wound up trading the same group of guys and getting Giancarlo Stanton and the contract? Because the Cardinals were going to take the full contract.
No thanks.
Stanton.
I would not have wanted Stanton. At the time, I would have loved it.
I would have too.
It would energize a fan base, and looking at the home runs and the prodigious home runs that he hits, it would have been great.
Because if you get Stanton, and this is 2017, correct?
Yes.
You never trade for Goldschmidt, you never trade for Arenado.
Probably not, because you're going to be financially strapped too with that contract.
And I believe there's still, 5 years left on that contract. So you'd still have him now for however much money he's making.
And he can't stay on the field.
No. So he got mad at the owner of the Yankees for saying he was going to get hurt this year, and he's hurt now.
Yes, he is. So. I had somebody say to me yesterday, they pulled me aside, Randy, and they said, does Randy really know all the stuff in the fight? And I said, yeah, he doesn't Google. He's not on a computer. So for anybody that wonders whether or not he knows the fight and going down the rabbit holes that you do, you do. You're amazing at it.
I go down rabbit holes.
I can't believe that somebody would think that you would cheat, Randy.
Well,
he's not a cheater.
No.
So Stan still has 3 guaranteed years left. $32 million next year, $29 million, and $25 million. And the Cardinals were ready to pick up all of that. And games played for Stanton. Actually, the first couple of years with the Yankees, it was not horrible. But now, let's see. First year with the Yankees, 158 games. Second year with the Yankees, 18 games. Third year with the Yankees was COVID. He had played in 23. Then it's been 139, 110, 101, and then 69 this year. So that would not, and you got 3 years left.
Yeah.
So that would not have been great. We're going to revisit this, by the way, and allow you to Give us a mic drop or send us a text at 9:30. If you could take back any deal your favorite team has ever made, what would it be? But next up, we've got the fight, and we need a fighter. 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Text in with your name and the word fight, and maybe Matthew will pick you to fight me next on 101 ESPN.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird Report. The Cardinals were shut out in the series finale in Pittsburgh, losing 5-0 yesterday. The Pirates scoring 4 times in the second inning off of Matthew Liberatore, who was getting the start in the bullpen game. Liberatore giving up 5 runs on 4 hits, 3 walks while striking out 3 in 3+ innings pitched. The Cardinals scored a combined 3 runs in the 3-game series against the Pirates. The Cardinals will have the day off today before facing the Nationals back at home starting on Friday.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals fall yesterday to the Pirates in an afternoon game, 5-0. Matthew Liberatore gets knocked around in just 3 innings of work, allows 4 hits, 5 earned runs, walks 3, struck out 3, and allowed 1 home run. Cardinals will be off today and then back in action for a Friday game to start a 3-game series against the Nationals. Sonny Gray is scheduled to start. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent Mecklenburg heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke, Dan, Randy here in Rocky, and it's time for the fight. And our fighter today is Kevin. Kevin, how are you doing this morning?
Doing well, Brooke. How are you? Congratulations on the wedding.
Oh, thank you so much, Kevin. That's so sweet. Yeah, I'm doing great, especially with you on. We like the good energy here. Is this your first time facing Randy in the fight?
It is not.
Ooh,
How did you fare before?
I'm 1-4 against Randy.
Oh, wow, 1-4. That's a lot of fights.
Yeah.
What do your cornermen say?
I got a lot of cuts and bruises, and yeah, I got Mick in the corner today, so hopefully we'll be okay.
Randy's beating the hell out of you. Okay, well, good luck today.
Thanks, Danny Mac.
There you go.
got it, buddy.
Okay. Who is the NFL's all-time postseason career rushing leader? Is it Emmitt Smith, Thurman Thomas, or Franco Harris?
Ooh, Emmett's got a lot of postseason. Franco Harris in the 70s. Give me Emmitt Smith.
Is that your final answer, Kevin?
It is, Danny Mac.
Okay, across the 2010 through 2019 seasons, who led the Cardinals in total home runs with 148? Was it Yadier Molina, Matt Carpenter, or Matt Holliday?
Let's go with Matt Carpenter.
Final answer?
Would that be your final answer, Danny Mac?
It might be.
Okay, we'll go with that then.
Okay.
I like how
Justice for
you're playing
Randy
this, Kevin.
already.
Oh, yes. We'll get those texts in just 1 second. All right, here's 3. Who is the only closer in Cardinals history to hold the position down for 6 or more consecutive seasons, 10-plus saves per season? Is it Todd Worrell, Joe Horner, or Jason Isringhausen?
Todd Worrell. Let's go with, because I know Izzy personally, so let's go with Izzy.
Really? You know Izzy? Are you from Brighton, Illinois?
No, I'm from Collinsville, but our daughters play soccer together.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
Izzy's a good dude.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite people. All right, question 4. The Cardinals traded for Will Clark at the 2000 deadline, and he closed his career hitting .345 with 1,000 OPS and 42 runs batted in 51 games. He was awesome. Which team did the Cardinals get Clark from? Was it the Giants, the Rangers, or the Orioles?
The Orioles.
Kevin, I'll tell you what. You're going to make this tough on Randall. Let me go grab him.
Oh, there we go. That's a pretty good sign there, Kevin, when Danny Mac says that.
I'll take that.
So you have to
When
be
Danny
feeling
Mac
pretty
says I'm
confident.
doing okay, I'm doing fine. Yeah, absolutely. It's always fun. Win or lose, it's always fun.
That's great. That's a great attitude to have. All right, here comes Randy in. Here with his grapes. The bag of grapes is not fully demolished as of yet.
Got my brewmate.
He has his brewmate, so he's ready to go. Randy, say hi to Kevin.
Kevin, good morning. How you doing?
Randy, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing. We appreciate it. I'm staying hydrated today, kids.
Randy, do you remember Kevin? I mean, you should. You've played him 5 times.
Oh, Kevin, hey, how you doing? Welcome back. There's a lot of Kevins out there.
Right.
5 times. Hey, so you must have beat me a couple times, huh?
Once.
Once. Oh, wow.
I beat Kerry Davis too, but that's not really a challenge. So.
Oh, we got to clip that and send that to CD.
Not have said that after telling us where you lived.
Yeah.
CD will come find you. All right. Randy, you ready for question number 1?
Ready.
Who is the NFL's all-time postseason career rushing leader?
Oh, this must be a trick. Probably. I'm guessing it's not Isaiah Peed, a.k.a. Hopalong. Yeah, it's... if he was a woman, he'd be named Peg.
Jesus.
I'm going to go with Emmitt Smith, though. What? Why are you guys acting this way?
Final answer, Randy.
nothing.
Final answer.
Yeah, we gotta head to 2.
Okay.
Question number 2.
All right.
If he was if he was on a tennis court, he'd be named Eileen.
Oh,
Oh, brother.
Question 2. Across the 2010 through 2019 seasons, Randall,
Yes.
who led the Cardinals in total home runs with 148?
2010 to 2019, 148 home runs. The guy who was here was Matt Holliday. Berkman wasn't here that long. Pujols was gone. Beltran wasn't here that long. 2010. Let me just run through this. It's hard to imagine that there would have been somebody else that did it. Yachty didn't hit that many. Alan Craig didn't hit that many. There wasn't a second. Jed Jerko didn't hit that many.
I think he had a 30 home run season, didn't he?
He did with like 60 RBIs.
Yeah.
Paul DeJong. Who's been our third baseman during that time? Did we have a third baseman during that time? I'm sure we did.
The great Troy Gloss was I think he was
gone.
before.
He was 08, yeah. So I will... Matt Carpenter, I don't think hit 148 during... Although he did hit 36 one year. But I am going to go with Matt Holliday.
Question 3.
Maybe against my better judgment, but I'm going with Matt Holliday.
Okay. Question 3.
who is the only closer in Cardinals history to hold the position down for 6 or more consecutive seasons, 10-plus saves per season?
Okay, not Rosie. Suter was only here for 4 years, 81, 82, 83, 84. After Bruce, it was Todd, and Todd was here 86, 87, 88, 89. Got hurt. I don't think he had any, certainly didn't have 10 and 90. Big Lee came in 91, 92, 93, 94. 95 was Hanky. Eck was a couple of years, 97, 98. So we might be talking the Mad Hungarian here. I don't know if he had 10 saves in 6 consecutive years, but Mark Littell wouldn't have done it. Let me just get past the Eckersley years. Mott, no. Dave Veers, no. Rosie, no. Edward Mujica, no. I'm going to go with the Mad Hungarian.
Surprised you didn't mention Mitchell Boggs.
Boggsy, no. Yeah.
Okay.
Man, I was there at that meltdown. Waka,
Yeah.
Against, I think it was against the Royals. Was the night of the big tornado?
Yep.
Yeah. Yikes. Game ended at like 3:30 in the morning or something. Yeah, kind of a meltdown by Mitchell. Nice guy, great setup guy, too. That's the essence of why it's difficult to get the 27th out.
He had historically the best year of a Cardinals setup man in the history of the Cardinals.
Yep.
Then the following year was the World Baseball Classic, and he kind of got messed up. Joe Torre was the manager. He had to leave early, you may remember, and never really was the same.
No, he wasn't. You're right. So I'm going to go with Matt Hungarian.
Okay.
Al Roboski.
The Cardinals traded for Will Clark at the 2000 deadline, and he closed his career hitting .345 with 1,000 OPS, 42 runs batted in 51 games. Which team did the Cardinals get Clark from?
I believe they may have traded Chris Richard to the Orioles for Will Clark.
Holy crap.
Okay, it's funny. Are you going with the Orioles?
I'm going to go with the Baltimore Orioles.
Okay,
yes, sir.
that
they
actually...
made a trade. Did they get Timlin the week before?
So you had your trades mixed up.
Oh, it was Chris Richard for Timlin.
Yep.
And then Latin
Leone.
Yeah, that right for Clark. Yeah.
Yeah. I said the same thing to Matthew. I said, "You sure it's not Chris Richard?"
Unbelievable. That was I cannot believe that. Your guys' brains are ridiculous. We have a winner in today's fight, by the way. Was Kevin in try number 5, trying to go for his second win against Randy Carricker. Was he successful, or does Megamind walk away with another win this week? Ring that bell.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! The winner and new champion of the fight, Average Joe Listener.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis, with the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
Congratulations, Kevin. You won and you hit the jack. You got all 4 right today, and you were able to take down Randy Carricker by the score of 4-2. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir. And you got all the correct answers, and we can go over those later, but we got to go because Mr. John Denton's waiting for us.
John Denton next on 101 ESPN. John Denton, who covers the Cardinals for MLB.com, joins us now on the Celebrity Line on 101 ESPN with Brooke Grimsley and Danny Mack. I'm Randy Carricker. And John, we brought you on, and I know you thought you were going to talk about baseball. This is a little intervention. Do you think that pickleball has taken over your life?
Randy, I may or may not have played a doubleheader last night. That's all I'm saying. I may have gone and played last night indoors after playing outdoors for 2 hours. So that's all I'm going to say.
John, you played after. So I played pickleball with John yesterday. You played that night, too?
Someone threw it out to me, and they knew I couldn't say no, and so I played the game. Yes, I did. I have a problem. My name is John Denton. I have a problem.
And we're playing pickleball today, by the way, too.
Oh, beautiful. Good.
A lot of pickleball happening. Well, John, of course, a lot to talk about with the Cardinals, including the trade deadline coming up. We were discussing this earlier. Do you see the Cardinals being aggressive at the trade deadline?
Yeah, Brooke, I think they are. I think they look at last season as an aberration. The worst season in 33 years last year. They were sellers at the deadline last year, which is unheard of in St. Louis. I interviewed John Mozeliak yesterday. It's going to be in my newsletter later today. He wants to make this team better. He thinks that, they're going to get in the playoffs. The Dodgers are a little bit wobbly right now. They've lost some pitching. Phillies have shown some cracks. Milwaukee may lose Yelich. The National League might be there for the taking. So I think they're going to try to make this team better. They know they need a right-handed bat because left-handed pitching is killing them. They know they need another arm. They probably need another bullpen arm as well. So I think they're going to be very aggressive.
In terms of those three things that you mentioned, John, what do you think is the most important?
Danny, I think they need a starting pitcher. I think, we saw there's 15 games before the All-Star break. I think they had the fifth worst ERA in baseball. They've had to be super careful with Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson and even Sonny Gray. Anytime those guys get near 100 pitches, they're quick with the hook. Now, their bullpen has been the best part of the team all season. They've leaned on the bullpen, but they're kind of taxing that bullpen. And I really think if you could go get a number two that would slot in behind Sonny Gray and ahead of Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn, that would make you significantly better. So I think if you could go find a Nathan Eovaldi, a Zach Eflin, one of those type guys, that would make you a lot better. And I think that would allow you to win the division.
Hey, John, last night Tommy Edman goes 0 for 2 with a couple of walks for Springfield. Here's a guy that hasn't played since last September. How reasonable is it for us or the Cardinals to expect that he could be a semblance of a right-handed bat?
Yeah, Tommy's going to help him. Anytime Tommy Edman's on your team, you're a better team because the guy's intelligence is off the charts. He never takes a bad step. He always gets a good jump. It doesn't matter where you put him. He's like Brendan Donovan. You could put him at shortstop one day, second base the next day, center field the next day. You're not going to worry about that position. It's going to be covered. I just wonder how much Tommy, how much he can give you at the plate. The wrist is, it's always going to be a problem for him. And Tommy's had people tell him, look, if you come back too early, if you mess up this wrist, it's going to hurt you the rest of your life. And, Tommy knows that next year is a big year for him. It's a platform year for him next year. I think in the back of Tommy's mind, he's thinking, I want to be right for next year and not be compromised next year. So I really wonder how much he can give you at the plate with, considering the severity of that wrist surgery.
So just going back to the starting rotation, when you're saying to add another starter and you're talking about a frontline starter to the starting rotation, who would be the odd man out? Because I think a lot of people would think that it would be Andre Pallante, but honestly, his numbers have been great here recently.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, Brooke. I mean, he's really saved this team. He's absolutely saved them the way he's pitched. He's pitched deep into games. His velocity's greater. Andre Pallante has really benefited from being in the starting rotation because every time he throws a bullpen, he has Kyle Gibson looking over his shoulder. He has Lance Lynn telling him to grip the ball this way. He has Sonny Gray teaching him how to throw his cutter and how to throw a better sweeper. He's really benefited from having those guys. He's bailed them out. But I think you could put him in there and, Andre Pallante could be your spot starter. He could be your guy that helps you avoid the situation you had yesterday where, Matthew Liberatore he's just not a starter right now. He doesn't have anything to get right-handed bats out, and you could keep him in the role where he thrives instead of having to throw him out there like you did yesterday.
John, where do you stand and where do the Cardinals stand on Jordan Walker and just the kind of year he's had and then looking ahead to the final couple of months?
Yeah, Danny, that's the head shaker of the season. We all know, people who know him, like Jordan is too smart, too talented, the kid looks like he's built in a baseball factory somewhere, 6'6", 245. It's been kind of a lost year for him. Last year they set him down. They said, we'll see you soon. He went down, came back, and he tore the ball up the second half of the season. The numbers and the production just haven't been there at Memphis for some reason, for whatever reason. I wish they would just let the kid hit the ball hard. I know because he's 6'6" and 250, they want him to be a 45, 50 home run guy. But if you look at his history in minor leagues, he's never been that guy. He's a 15, 18, 20 home run guy. Just because his body says he should hit the ball off the light power doesn't mean that's who he is. I know they want to maximize his production, but just let the kid hit the ball 115 miles an hour. There's going to be some in the air. There's going to be some on the ground. I think he could do it at this level if, he could just get back to concentrating on hitting the ball hard instead of lifting everything.
John Denton of MLB.com with us on 101 ESPN. You can read his great work. Just go to Cardinals.com. John, one of the players that's been talked a lot about here in terms of moving is Dylan Carlson. You mentioned Zach Eflin with Tampa. We've heard a lot about Tanner Scott with the Marlins. It seems like there are multiple outfields in Major League Baseball where if Dylan Carlson is given a chance, maybe he can realize his potential. Would you be surprised if the Cardinals didn't move Dylan Carlson?
Randy, I think I'm the last remaining guy in the Dylan Carlson fan club. I'm convinced that Dylan Carlson's going to go somewhere else and he's going to hit 17, 18 home runs. Tyler O'Neill has 20 home runs this year after he left St. Louis. We all know the talent's there, but Dylan's body language doesn't look good now. He doesn't look good at the plate. He doesn't look good walking around the clubhouse. He looks kind of like a broken man almost. And he's this perfect candidate for that fresh start. And I was saying last year, they're going to trade him to Kansas City and he's going to go hit 18 home runs. And he just needs a fresh start, it looks like right now. I mean, almost for Dylan's sake, I almost hope he gets to go elsewhere because, his time is just not going to come here. The defense that Michael Ciani has played, we saw it yesterday. Ciani probably catches that ball in center field and it doesn't pop out and cost him 2 runs. So for Dylan's sake, I think he needs a fresh start. It just sometimes that's what happens. And like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if he goes somewhere else and hits 15 home runs next year.
By the way, Greg Amsinger brought up the name of Tyler Anderson, another team that could use an outfielder, a switch hitter that just needs time and an opportunity. The Angels are one of those teams, and it doesn't look like they're getting Mike Trout back maybe ever. But he left the game last night, has to undergo more tests. So that's another franchise that could use a young outfielder from Southern California, by the way, and give him an opportunity and see what he can do.
Sure, and they have a guy, Kevin Pillar, there. The Cardinals could have signed him for free. He was on the market. That's a right-handed bat. That's a guy that, the Cardinals could use in this lineup. If you look at the Cardinals against left-handed pitching, they're 29th in batting average. They're 29th in on-base percentage. They're 29th in slugging. They're 29th in OPS against left-handers. They've got to go get a Tommy Pham or a Kevin Pillar or some kind of right-handed bat that can help them because they have so many lefties in the lineup. And, you even look at the bench. They're bringing Karp and they're bringing Brandon Crawford off the bench, 2 lefties, and then Dylan Carlson's the other one. So they've got to have a right-hander that they can start and against lefties to give them a better shot because right now they're just not competitive against lefties.
John, you mentioned that you had a conversation with John Mozeliak. Anything really catch your attention in your conversation with Mo, something that maybe you weren't expecting? I mean, you're talking about being competitive, getting to playoffs, probably making a move or two, but anything else really catch your attention?
Well, Danny, I did ask him. I said, this is not your last trade deadline, right? And he's like, oh, no. This is not my last trade deadline, but I don't see myself signing a deal beyond this. Mo's he's getting close to the end. I think he wants to do something else. He feels like he has other stuff to offer. This is going to be probably his next to last trade deadline. I think he's done after 25. He wants to find new challenges. He owns a place in Florida. He was down in Florida all this past week signing the 19 kids that they drafted. So, I think he's kind of looking at this, hey, this is not my last trade deadline, but it's probably his next to last trade deadline.
What do you think about the heir apparent after Mozeliak? Do you think that could be Bloom or Gersh or maybe even Flores?
I wouldn't be shocked if it's not Chaim Bloom. I mean, you look at the additions that the Cardinals made. Ryan Fernandez has been an absolute steal for this team. He came from the Red Sox where Chaim Bloom worked before. Highly recommended him. Andrew Kittredge was with Chaim Bloom in Tampa. Kittredge has been one of the most important players on this team. He was behind, he was a guy suggested and go get him. Chaim Bloom's fingerprints are already all over this roster, so I would not be shocked. I think they're very impressed with him. I think Randy Flores is going to be a star GM in this league someday. Just look at the drafts he's had. I think he's going to be a star, but it may not be here. It may be that this is going to be Chaim Bloom's team for the future. Chaim just has to decide, does he want to move his family from Philly? He's still not living here full time. I think he's kind of using this season to decide, do I want to get back in this full time? Do I want to move my family again? That sort of thing. But I think it's Chaim Bloom's job if he wants it.
Do you guys already have a game and a time set up, so you don't need to do that here? Okay.
Yeah. So we have this group chat that John Denton manages, and he is very serious about this group chat. There's a lot of other people who are playing pickleball, a lot of Cardinals writers and TV personalities. The list continues to grow, including we have the Frank Cusimano and his wife Monique joining us out there today.
Well,
how about that?
Have a great time. John Denton, we always appreciate your time, and take care of yourself. Keep those Achilles intact, okay?
Oh, you just cursed me, Randy. I'll send you the bill. I'll send you the bill, the medical bill.
Sorry about that. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you, sir.
Sounds great. Take care, guys.
You too. John Denton, he covers the Cardinals for MLB.com with us on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we've got the Rush Hour Reset. American Mortgage, and if you're someone who is looking to purchase a home or refinance, or if you're looking to consolidate some of that ugly credit card debt and maybe you don't know exactly what direction to go to in any of these things, let's make it easy for you. Call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. He's going to help you out every step of the way. So if it's a new home you're looking to purchase, he is going to get you to the closing table fast. Try 10 days and he'll get you the best interest rate possible. He also has the bagel loan that can help you out too. So what's the bagel loan? If you borrow $200,000 or more, there's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, and no closing costs. Stewart is your guy, and he makes it easy for you. Any questions on rates, the industry, the trends, give Stewart a call. Here's his direct personal cell phone, 314-324-4440. Again, that number. Text him, call him, 314-324-4440, or you can Google the bagel loan.
NMLS number 226715.
recapping the biggest sports stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke, Dan, Rocchio, and Randy wasn't here, Dan?
Apparently, cupcakes in the kitchen. So Randall said, you guys handle the Rush Hour Reset. I'm going to eat cupcakes.
Oh, and here he comes in right now. So we had an email that was just sent out, and that's why I exited the room during the break so that I could get one of these cupcakes. Randy discovered there's cupcakes in the kitchen, and he ran and got one immediately.
Happy birthday, Brooke. Happy birthday, Matthew.
Thank you.
Everybody that had a birthday in July.
Happy birthday, Randall.
That's next month, Dan.
Oh.
It's soon to be.
What date? What's the date? I got to get you something here.
August 19th, sir.
And what are you looking for?
Nothing.
Well, there's got to be something you want.
Oh, I haven't really thought about it, Daniel.
Maybe a carrot cake.
Well, it could happen.
Okay.
We'll see. I like carrot cake a lot. You know that.
What's your favorite dessert?
Oh, probably carrot cake. You know, Cheesecake Factory is going, well, the one over at Chesterfield Mall is closing the day before my birthday, actually.
Oh.
Really?
Chocolate cherry cheesecake is really good.
Chocolate cherry cheesecake.
Really good.
Okay, write that down.
So are we doing the Rush Hour Reset right now?
We just started it as you entered into the room.
Cardinals lose 5-0 yesterday in Pittsburgh. Day off today, and then the Nationals in town tomorrow.
Yeah, and that happened with the Cardinals yesterday. Matthew Liberatore struggled, especially in the second inning. That's just not the right spot for him to be in there. I think that he's best utilized in the bullpen, and it really handcuffs your team in so many different ways, especially the bullpen, when you have him do those spot starts like that.
But I wonder and the Cardinals really can't afford to do this because they're a franchise that expects to win. But I wonder if you would give him 20 starts in a row, what would happen with Matthew Liberatore?
I think he'd be fine.
Yeah.
I kind of think you would too.
He's got to have, though, a pitch to get in, a fastball to get in on righties. He struggles against right-handed batters, so there's got to be something there that he needs to improve upon if he was going to be a starter and have that repertoire where come out of the bullpen, you can throw as hard as you want. Throw fastball, throw that big breaking ball that he's got. I thought the road trip kind of exposed three different things, and we've talked about it a lot that the Cardinals need. One, a high-leverage bullpen guy. The bats need to be picked up, a starter maybe as well because you had Liberatore. But 4 of the 6 games on the trip, the offense scored 2 or fewer runs. Arenado and Goldie have 8 hits combined since the All-Star break. So those are some of the things that kind of been exposed as they head to the trade deadline next week.
Especially when you look at yesterday's game. I mean, there was plenty of opportunities for them to score. They had a season-high 9 walks along with 6 hits, and they weren't able to capitalize on that. I mean, 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. That's a pretty big, glaring red flag, especially with the pitcher. You weren't facing Skeens yesterday.
No, you weren't.
Yeah.
And I think one of the other parts of this, guys, is 4-2 sounds a whole lot better than 3-3 on the trip, right?
Yep.
If you go 4-2 on the trip, and you lose 3-2 in the first game on Saturday, and then you also lost the 2-1 game to Pittsburgh, where you gave up the lead the other night after you'd had the home run from Gorman. So you had opportunities. Now, at the same time, you did lose those games, and you only won 2-1 the other night. It just seems like the Cardinals need to go on a roll where and the Mets are on that roll right now. Their record since July, or I think June 29th or something.
They've won 7 of the last 10.
And they're 25-12 in their last 37. And they're ahead of the Cardinals now in the wild card race. The Cardinals, they had a nice run in May, but they need to go on another run where they can put some distance between themselves and the teams that are right with them in the third wild card spot.
Really show some consistency. Do you think that that's what the biggest thing is, seeing consistently what this team can do?
Yeah, and it's hard. The offense is down around baseball. We talk every day about how the Cardinal offense is down. Every team's offense is down. It's really hard to score runs on a consistent basis because the pitching is so good. And that's why you have to have consistent starting pitching, get innings out of the guys. Why do the Cardinals need a relief pitcher? Because several times this year, their bullpen has been on fumes, and they just haven't had enough gas left in the tank because their bullpen is having to throw too many pitches.
You look at the remaining schedule this month, you got Washington, Texas, couple of teams that are kind of hanging around in the playoff picture. You still have a makeup game with the Mets. You got Cincinnati. You got the Dodgers in the month of August. You got the Brewers. You got the Twins. You got the Padres. Won't be easy against the Yankees. So as you try to go on a run, you also have to look at the schedule and be realistic about it and keep your head above water. But, baseball's funny. You can go on a run, and they've got a lot of home games in the month of August, so that's something to keep in mind as they move forward.
Meanwhile, the Yankees started 50-22. They're 10-22 since they started 50-22.
I wonder how the fans are taking it.
Not great.
I've seen it on social media. I already know the answer to that. They're not handling it well.
No.
And the Olympic opening ceremonies are tomorrow. And Steve Kerr said today of his USA Olympic men's basketball team, he said they have to raise their intensity. He said it's time. I guess that means Kevin Durant has to play.
Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Give me KD. I mean, he's one of the most decorated international players in the history of USA basketball. LeBron taking shots at the end of the game, leading this team in the exhibition. I still go back to this, man. Like when they played Germany, the Germans had been together, some of those players, for 10 years. And you're putting a lot of alpha males together who are on their individual teams, taking the last shot. And my point being is just how quickly can you come together? The talent is unheard of in international competition, but there's still the team aspect of putting this thing together. And I think that's going to be the most fun thing to watch when you're watching Team USA. It's going to be fascinating how the combinations work out for Steve Kerr.
Coming up here on 101 ESPN, Greg Amsinger had some interesting notes for us this morning from Cleveland as he gets ready to interview Stephen Vogt for his show on Friday. And we're going to hear some of the notes that Greg had for us next on 101 ESPN.
going to be a starting pitcher, I think it's going to be Tyler Anderson of the Angels. People will pay for this swing and miss, and he doesn't have it. But it kind of falls in line with other moves the Cardinals have made. If you look back throughout their history, like the Quintana move, other starters that they go get, that Montgomery, guys that they believe in that can give them innings and bulk. And I think Tyler Anderson fits that vibe for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Okay, you're going to hear that name from Greg Amsinger, Tyler Anderson of the Angels, and go, 58 and 57 for his career, 4.18 ERA. He's pitched for 6 different teams. However, this year, playing for a bad Angels team, he's 8-8 with a 2.91. He's thrown 123 and 2/3 innings. And no, he's not a strikeout guy. 89 strikeouts in those 123 and 2/3. He's walked 48. So, do you want a guy, and oh, by the way, left-handed, do you want a left-handed starter that in 123 and 2/3 this year has a 2.91 earned run average? Does that float your boat for you?
Not really. And nothing against Greg and what he's saying there with Tyler Anderson. It does actually make sense if you do look at some of the prior moves that the Cardinals have made at the trade deadline. I just don't really think that it fits their needs exactly, because with Tyler Anderson, he's a soft-tossing lefty. You do need a lefty in your starting rotation, so that part makes sense to me. But
we have one coming back, right?
Don't think so. I wouldn't hold my breath on that one.
Darn it.
Sorry about that. Yeah, who knows what's going on with Mats at this moment. But at the same time, with him, he's a soft-tossing lefty. It feels like it would just be adding like another 4 or 5 into the starting rotation. Would you have those roles already filled?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. And if you're going to make a move, it's got to be to a frontline starter if I'm going the starter route. But look at just the road trip and what they did against lefties. Look at what they did yesterday. They need a right-handed bat. I don't know if there's an impact bat that they'd want to dip their toes into the water and go get. That's something I'd think about. I think I'm in the only one in this camp where I think Steven Matz can be a factor.
I think he can in the bullpen.
As a reliever.
Yeah.
As a reliever. I realize I might be the only one that thinks that way, but I've seen him work out of the bullpen, and he's been really good. Now, can he stay healthy? That's the big question, but I might be the only one that's in that camp.
And you have him next year, so hopefully there's something that you would be able to work out of that.
I think he can be, if he's healthy, he's pitched well out of the bullpen for the Cardinals. I don't have any problem at all. I would, if Steven Matz is healthy and pitches the way he has pitched out of the bullpen for the Cardinals when he has, and Jojo Romero is what he was in Pittsburgh the other night, I'd rather have Matz.
Yeah. I mean, Romero, his velocity's down a little bit. He's not striking out nearly the amount that he was, and I mentioned this earlier, he was at 30% 4 months ago strikeout rate. He's now down to 5%. That's of concern for me. And they've gone to him so much, and that's why I say, look at the strength of this team, and it's been the bullpen. And I think Ollie has done an amazing job of finding the right niche for each guy and going to them at the right time, and that's something that a manager can't control is the bullpen. I'm giving him the best shot I can working out of that bull, because these guys don't go deep anyway.
Okay,
you might as well strengthen the bullpen.
Right. I'm going to go old school on us, because people used to call in with trade proposals back in the day when on KMOX Sports Up Atlanta. I don't know if they still do. I kind of shut it down when I was doing that show, but Bob Burns would get a trade proposal. Can we trade 3 of our best prospects for Mike Schmidt? Cardinals had Ken Reitz at the time, and Burns would say, well, where are you going to play him?
Right.
So here's my trade proposal. And this is kind of quintessential Cardinal, okay? Dylan Carlson and Gallegos for Pilar, who has an 825 OPS and plays a pretty good center field, and Tyler Anderson. You don't love it, but this isn't a proposal. Would this surprise you? That's going to be my question. Would that trade surprise you if the Cardinals would have it made by next Tuesday?
No, 100%. I don't think it would surprise me whatsoever. It fits the bill of what we've seen in recent years of what they would acquire. But should they do something different this trade deadline?
They should.
That's my question, is should they do something different than what we've seen?
Brooke, I spent the offseason saying they should trade Gorman for Cease. So, yeah, I'm all for being bold. Although I think bold kind of passed them by when Cease got traded.
Who would want Gallegos?
Nobody.
Throw him in as kind of the money situation. You unload some of the money.
Right.
In the centerpiece, I'm with John Denton on this, and you guys have heard me say this. If Dylan Carlson gets a change of scenery and has a chance to play, I think he can be a good player in the league.
I agree 100%.
And I think that other people would look at how those other situations with the Cardinals have panned out with guys that they have traded from the outfield and look at how they've worked out at other places.
I don't necessarily think that sometimes I think that we put too much in it. Well, the Cardinals did this, the Cardinals did that. I just think that sometimes you get a little luck when you make a deal, and the change of scenery helps out a player. And I think that's one of the things that, like, Rosarena was not going to get a shot here, really. The way that things were set up, and they gets a shot with Tampa Bay and takes off. And you look at, like, with Dylan Carlson, he can play. I still believe he can play, but right now he's buried, and I think he's buried mentally. And that's a tough spot to be in. It's tough to work yourself out of that in the major leagues. I think there's talent there. I think on a really good team, he's probably a fourth outfielder. I think on a bad team, getting a chance to play, he'd be one of your guys that not great, but he could be decent in the role that they would put him in.
Maybe like a Lane Thomas situation where you're dealing with a team with not as much pressure, like the Nationals, not trying to take away anything from their organization, but where you can build some consistency in that position.
Yeah, if we all three think of Tampa and Florida as young teams, right? If Carlson would be with the Rays or the Marlins, he would be their youngest starting outfielder.
How about the A's, too?
And the A's.
Yeah.
And the Angels, only Joe Adell is younger among their outfielders.
And that really hasn't worked out all that well.
No, it hasn't.
So he'd have a shot.
And Carlson's still a young player. He's 25 years old.
Right.
So the big thing for him is staying healthy, right? If he gets healthy and gets into a groove, we saw it when he was third in Rookie of the Year voting. He has talent. It just has to be given an opportunity to blossom. And again, he's not getting an opportunity here. His opportunity in St. Louis has passed him by.
He's going to have to get better from one side of the plate, too.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
That's got to change for him. And if not, then he will be pigeonholed as a fourth outfielder, which I think right now he should be.
Do you think that there's anything that is completely off the table for the Cardinals when they're approaching the trade deadline? Because we heard Greg, we heard John Denton. They're saying that it seems like Mo is looking in the direction of possibly being a little bit more aggressive than we might expect with what we've seen in recent years. Do you think there's anything that would be off the table for them?
In terms of like trading Walker? I don't think that. I don't. There's a lot of guys. I would think that most of the guys that are in their starting eight right now would be off the table.
Yeah. I mean, Nolan Gorman, I don't see it. Certainly not Wynn, Burleson, Ciani. I'm not doing that one. Obviously, Contreras, Goldie Arenado. They're not going anywhere. You know, what about a Lars Nootbaar? I guess that's somebody you'd take a look at, but still, the upside for him is tremendous for me, and I wouldn't even listen to anybody on if they called about Walker. I mean, they're going to certainly ask about him if you're, trying to pull off a big deal, but I'm not going there. So I got to look at some different options that I have with this team.
Coming up, we want to hear from you. We talked about it earlier. If you could undo one of your favorite team's trades ever, and your favorite team doesn't have to be a team here in St. Louis, like Anthony Stalter could give us a mic drop and say, I'm really mad that my Atlanta Falcons traded Brett Favre. I would like to have that one back. Or he could call in with like a San Jose Sharks trade. Stalter could do that. So if you have a trade for your favorite team that you could undo, what would it be? Mic drops and texts next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Cardinals fall yesterday to the Pirates 5-0. They are off today before they start a 3-game series against the Nationals tomorrow. If you want to hear more Cardinals talk, you can go to our Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers podcast today as we talked it over with MLB Network lead host Greg Amsinger and Cardinals beat writer John Denton. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Earlier this morning, we gave some of the trades that we would take back, we would undo from our favorite teams if that were possible. I would have undone the Chris Pronger trade with the Edmonton Oilers. Brooke, you would have, you kind of looked at the Marcell Ozuna deal.
I did. I looked at the Marcell Ozuna deal. I know that hindsight is 2020. It's definitely a very recency bias move because you thought, I mean, he was great with Miami, and you were hoping that he would be able to carry that over, and you needed that at the time. But now, hindsight is 2020. What else do you need at this moment? Pitching, and more pitching.
Yep.
So pitching, that's something that the Cardinals really need, and it just really hurts to see that you trade away Sandy Alcantara and Zach Gallen.
I think Randy Arozarena, that deal, you know, you need a right-handed bat right now. Understood it to an extent at the time, but hindsight 2020. Liberatore goes yesterday, didn't look good as a starter. Probably will turn out to be a pretty good bullpen guy. I'd love to see him like in an Andrew Miller role if that would ever materialize. And I don't think you can put the full assessment on a deal until players are done and it's over. But right now it's been lopsided for the Rays in that regard.
All right, your text, Vikings fan here, the Herschel Walker trade with Dallas, possibly the worst in sports history. It was a really great trade for the Cowboys. And yes, the Vikings did give up a bunch of picks, but would they have taken the same guys Jimmy Johnson took with those picks? Probably not.
And Jimmy Johnson then set the entire basis of the great run on with the Cowboys, partially because of that draft. I mean, he got so many good players out of that draft. It was amazing.
By the way, if you're a Vikings fan, didn't you give up a number 1 pick to get Sam Bradford? Seems like that was a pretty bad trade, too.
Was it number 1?
Was it them or the Eagles who traded the number 1 for him?
Traded by the Eagles to the Vikings for a 4th, which wound up being Josh Sweat, and then a 2017 first-round pick, 14th overall, which wound up being Derek Barnett. Yeah. So, he did. So, you would have liked to have probably had that back as well.
We keep getting this one, too. Steve Carlton. I think that's one of the most lopsided ones, not only for Cardinals history, but just all of sports history. It has to be, right? Yeah,
no doubt about it. The Cardinals made that bad one and then the good one, Brock Fabrolio. But, trading Steve Carlton for Rick Wise was not very wise.
Coincidentally, they were talking about this down the hall on TMA, and Doug relayed the story, and I'm sure Danny can tell it better, about how the contract dispute between Carlson and the Cardinals was over, what was it, the difference between $75,000 and $70,000?
No, I think it's $5,000.
I'm saying the difference was between him getting paid, I'm saying the difference was $5,000, him getting paid $70,000, and he wanted $75,000, they wanted him $70,000. He gets in his car after saying, I'm not going to take it. He gets in his car to drive to Busch Stadium to accept the deal. He walks in, and the first thing he's told when he walks into Busch Stadium is, we've traded you.
Yeah. He was walking down the hall
to accept the deal. Right. And they told him, we moved you. I mean, they play in multiple more World Series. Yeah. If just they wait 10 minutes longer. It's insane that it comes down to that kind of split-second decision-making. This franchise might have 3 or 4 more World Series.
Wow. That's incredible.
So Tim McCarver told me that story, and he said, you don't probably understand how close this was. And I said, no, I don't. I just know there was the dispute. He said Steve Carlton arrived, walking down the hall, and literally a few steps away from signing the deal. And that's when he found out he had been dealt
$5,000.
$5,000.
Yeah, did pretty well after that, huh?
Yeah, he was pretty dominant.
Pretty good.
All the way to the Hall of Fame.
Oh, man. We have this one, which we have to address here. Somebody from 314 said, Nolan Arenado trade. What?
Yeah, I don't know. If I'm not mistaken, the third baseman, Montero, right? He just got DFA'd.
There's another player DFA'd.
I think they have one player left from that trade They DFA Gomber, right? Or no, he's still there. He's
Gomber's
still there.
still there.
They got rid of Dakota Hudson. But there's one. They've got a 27 or 28-year-old Double-A pitcher, and then Austin Gomber left from that trade.
And a lot of talk that Gomber's on the move at this deadline.
Yeah.
Even there was some reports that the Cardinals might be interested in Austin Gomber.
I was Bowden yesterday on BK and Ferrario. That was one of the names he threw out there.
Yeah.
Can I address something else with the Arenado trade? Because when we discussed this earlier, somebody texted in that they weren't really giving credit to the front office. They said, well, anybody could have pulled off that trade with Nolan Arenado and the Rockies. You do have to give credit when credit's due. That was a really big deal for the Cardinals to pull off, and it's not like the Rockies just easily handed all of that over.
No, and they didn't have to. He demanded a trade, but what was he going to do if they didn't trade him, right? They didn't have to trade him, and that trade was literally a year in the making. I was talking to Cardinal front office people right before the pandemic in spring training of 2020 about the possibility of making an Arenado deal and how difficult it was. And then when you just go to COTS and look at all the permutations, COTS contracts, and look at all the permutations contractually of that trade. That was not an easy trade to make.
No, the financial aspect and how to make the money work was really difficult. Who picks up what, who doesn't? How then do you evaluate the deal with how much money you're going to invest in the trade? So that's what made it complicated. Not necessarily saying these players for X. It was the complication of the financial aspect.
And in what world would you want to undo that trade if you're the Cardinals? Maybe that person's a Rockies fan.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. That lives in St. Louis with a 314 number, yeah. Bill Russell is another good one.
Yeah. Somebody asked, do you think the Hawks would still be here if they didn't trade the rights for Bill Russell, who didn't want to come here? It would have been interesting because he was the dominant player.
Yep.
And if he's here and does come here for those years and the Hawks wind up being dominant, then the Blues probably don't get the window of opportunity that they got when they started off in 67.
Hawks didn't exactly leave because they were losing.
But Bill Russell was the centerpiece of a dynasty.
That's true.
They didn't have a dynasty going.
But I just wonder, if it's still Bill Russell and for their African Americans who are starting a game, how does the fan base react with considering the way the fan base reacted?
Boston seems kind of racist.
It's true, but it went over better there than it did here.
Well, that's because they were a dynasty. They were 9 of 11 years. So he was going to be the dominant force in basketball at that time, and he was. Let's see. Somebody says Arenado demanded a trade to the Cardinals. It fell in their lap. Again, they didn't have to trade him. Yes, he demanded a trade to the Cardinals, but that doesn't mean that the Rockies had to move the guy.
Now, do you want to see like a Matt Holliday deal next week? Wouldn't that be something? Just say we're going to roll the dice, Mo saying I got a year and a half left to go. Why not? Let's just roll the dice and say we're going to do something outlandish and go for it here in 2024. I don't see that happening, but man, it makes it fun to talk about it this week and
really
up to next week.
Yeah. Well, when you were asking Randy earlier about how do you re-energize a fan base that's still not fully bought in with things right now, and we've talked about Mo fatigue, I think doing something different than what you've seen at the other trade deadlines would do that.
Mm-hmm. Are the crowds bad downtown? I don't know.
Yeah, there are tickets are sold, but people just are not. And by the way, on the last homestand they did show up more, but people have during the season have not shown up to the level that the people that, like Goldschmidt and Arenado, why they wanted to come here.
Yeah,
the crowds haven't been that big.
I'll be interested this weekend to see what it looks like. Yeah. Now, not a great opponent in Washington, but you're in a pennant race, and that's what, as you always say, Randy, you want hope. Mm-hmm. You come to the ballpark, you're hoping, and you're in a pennant race, which makes it fun.
Yeah,
so people will come out.
And by the way, the Cardinals have some great deals on tickets right now. Just go to Cardinals.com. But Max Scherzer is scheduled to pitch on Tuesday night, probably his last start ever at Busch Stadium.
Oh yeah.
So if you're going to go watch a game this year, if you're inclined to get down to a game, buy tickets for that one at Cardinals.com.
He's fun to watch, and he's going to be fired up.
Yep.
Can I give you one last one just for the Titans fans out there, which I know there probably aren't many, but still one of the Titans fans in this room. A.J. Brown to the Eagles for a draft pick that they used on Traylon Burks, which has not panned out well.
No,
That's why they got rid of their past GM, new GM in, and you were able to make some moves. But yes, there was a lot that really just kind of went downhill because of that trade.
Trader Frank Lane, Cardinal GM in the 50s, wanted to trade Stan Musial to the Pirates. And that got him fired, fortunately.
I feel like there's a couple other examples in sports that I'm blanking of teams doing that, Brooke, where they trade away a player for a draft pick or the same position, and it's obviously they got the worst end of the deal in it. And I feel like the Titans are not the first, nor will they be the last team to do that exact kind of thing, but it always makes you look like morons when it happens that way.
Yeah, well, and then it kind of spelled the end of Vrabel with the Titans, too, because Vrabel was a huge Brown fan, and so when they traded him, that caused part of the rift that you had going on there.
Yeah. That's Brooke, that's Dan, that's Matthew. I'm Randy. Coming up, we've got Rocc and Roll, and we're going to give you some Cardinal tickets for, ironically, Tuesday night. Next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brick here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club. It's because they're helping me stick to my big goals for this year. One, getting into better shape. I'm already in pretty good shape, but I really want to push myself physically, and I love working out with Christine twice a week. And also, they're helping me get back into the sport I love, which is tennis. I love going over to the West location and hitting with Scott. They always provide such a wonderful experience, and that's why I love my MAC.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
It is time for rock and roll. And 101. By the way, tomorrow we're here till 11. We're going to fill in tomorrow. I guess there's T-Mac and Ajax are not going to be here tomorrow, but we will have our own little balloon party.
Oh, a little balloon
I'm bringing
party.
balloons tomorrow.
Are you?
I am.
We just fill the room with balloons.
I think that'd be fun. It'd be a balloon party.
Yeah,
Good idea.
A true balloon party.
You know, we never gave the answers in the trivia questions.
Oh, did we have?
Yeah, you're right, Dan.
The ones that I got wrong.
You only missed two.
Emmitt Smith is the all-time postseason career leading rusher. He has 1,586 yards. Number 2 is Franco Harris with 1,556. By the way, Thurman Thomas is third, despite never winning the actual Super Bowl with 1,442.
That happens when you go to 4 Super Bowls, so you play a lot of playoff games.
It'll do it. K-Gun's pretty good offense. Across the 2010 through 2019 seasons, it was Matt Carpenter who leads the Cardinals with 148 home runs. Matt Holliday's at 143. Yadier Molina in third with 121. The only closer in Cardinals history to hold the position down for 6 or more consecutive seasons with 10-plus saves per season was Jason Isringhausen across 02 to 07, 32 saves, 22 saves, 47, 39, 33, 32.
Big whiff by me, but big whiff.
And despite being passed by Ryan Franklin in the second half of 08, he still actually had 12 in 2008, but Ryan Franklin had 17, so kind of changing of the guard there. And the Cardinals traded for Will Clark at the 2000 deadline, and he closed his career hitting .345 with 1,000 OPS and 42 RBI in his final 51 games, and he did that after getting traded from the Cardinals, or from the Orioles to the Cardinals in midseason 2000. There's your 5 answers.
Jose Leon. There we go.
It was insane that you guys misremembered the same trade exactly the same way. That's bananas.
Was that the Timlin trade, by the way? Okay.
Mike Timlin.
Hey, 101 ESPN has your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to Tuesday night's Budweiser Bash game, Cardinals and Rangers. Max Scherzer scheduled to pitch for the Rangers, and next week's Bud Bash game features a limited edition Steve Klein bobblehead. You can get all the details on this season's series of Budweiser Bash Cardinals games at cardinals.com/promotions, or you can text in now, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YOHO to win Budweiser Bash tickets for the Cardinals and Rangers on Tuesday. All you have to do is answer this question. Matthew, what do you got for us?
I have one, Randy. I clearly have one because unfortunately we try to give away a texter of the day kind of thing for the Bud Bash tickets, but they don't want the Bud Bash tickets. They can't go to the game. Now they don't want the tickets. They can't go to the game that we're specifically giving away Bud Bash tickets for, and so therefore they don't really want to. they don't really want the tickets, and so I can't really blame them for that.
Fair
So
enough.
we have to come up with a trivia question here, and I'm kind of blanking on one, honestly.
Okay. Well, let's
I
do...
had one, and I've lost the webpage where I had it.
Oh, okay. Let's do one regarding the Cardinal. We'll do an easy one, okay? Who was Steve Klein's fellow left-handed reliever on the 2004 Cardinals? Who was the Cardinals' fellow left-handed reliever on the 2004 Cardinals? And by the way, I will tell you that Patrick Policarricker made his way to Paris this morning for the Olympics. He wasn't able to get into his hotel room early, so he went out and hung out at a Burger King.
A Burger
in Paris
King?
before they could check into their hotel, yeah. A Burger King.
In Paris, and he goes to
Paris.
Burger King.
Randy's giving you a little help. The trivia
Yes.
question.
I see what you're doing there.
Yeah.
Did he actually go to a Burger King?
He
then?
did, yeah. I got the text.
So is their Burger King any different? That's what I always would find fascinating, is if it's any different than what you would get here.
Let me see. Hold on.
Putting you on the spot, sorry.
I'm just going to text him right now and find out if Burger King's there any different.
We got a very crucial text from the 816. They want to know, does the Steve Klein bobblehead have a dirty hat?
Yes, it
Gotta
does.
have a
Yes,
dirty
it
hat.
does. Of course it does.
They had a dirty hat giveaway.
Yeah, it
at
was
one point.
very cool. Yeah, it was nice.
Nice
good
hat
idea.
with a looked like all kinds of stuff on that hat.
Who was the Cardinal pitcher that bit the top off his hat? The button on the top? Early 2000s?
Boy, I don't remember.
Okay, fair enough.
I
just remember
it happening.
there was a Cardinal that was his thing. Every time he got a new cap, he would rip the button off the top of it.
I think it was Kleiner.
Was it Steve? Oh,
Yeah, I thought it was
okay.
too.
Yeah,
I was just wondering.
yeah. You know who else did that? Had the dirty hat going was Tim Lincecum.
Sure did.
Wore the same hat all the time.
Wonder what was in that stuff. In those hats.
Oh, for Timmy?
Yeah, for everybody
They
that
used to-
has a dirty hat.
Yeah, they used to have T-shirts at Oracle Park, AT&T Park, SBC Park, that said, "Let Timmy smoke."
Randy, we've gotten a lot of correct answers because of your hint. Nicely done there. My question for you is: do you think Ray King ever ate any Burger King?
He should have had an endorsement.
Oh, that would, yeah, that's a...
He definitely.
Yeah.
He definitely ate. He definitely ate a few burgers, right?
Yeah.
In his day, just one
I
or two
would
here and there.
imagine that he will be here tomorrow for the 20-year anniversary. It's another thing happening tomorrow, 20-year anniversary of the 2004 Cardinals and 60-year anniversary of the 64 Cardinals.
Yes.
So they're going to have, I think, 7 guys from the 64 team here, and they're going to have, did you say 30 representatives from the 04 team?
I was trying to pull up the press release. Where is it? Sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't wanna work
Anti-climatic.
today.
Okay, I think there's going to be 30 or something.
I think it was something like that. I just
That's pretty
remember
impressive.
that on the press release, at least, Yadier Molina and Albert Pujols will not be attending.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they were attending, and I was going to be really shocked. One quick thing I have is a piece of audio that was hitting
Over 30 players
NFL
and
circles late yesterday, and that was Keon Coleman, the wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills, was signing his contract officially for the Bills, and he was a little confused. It's the audio is a little bit garbled, but I think you can pull out what's going on here. Is again, he's trying to figure out how to sign his contract.
I got a question. We signature, I'm gonna put my whole name on signs. Whichever way you want to sign it. How's that? I'm saying like I'm signing the autograph or like. Yeah. I'm saying I'm gonna sign the autograph and put my whole name. I got put your whole name. All right. Now, see that what I was asking? You was making it hard.
So you could tell Keon Coleman was asked to sign his contract, and he was asking, do I sign my autograph or do I sign my full name? Because he was confused. He's like, well, do I sign this like I'm doing an autograph, or do I need to put my full name there? And my thing is, probably hasn't had to sign a lot of paperwork in his life, but also I think the crucial thing is, ask a question if you're confused. Don't be embarrassed because you're a little bit confused. Ask the question. It's always helpful. And I love Keon Coleman. He has zero filter between his personality and what he shows people on video and things like that. And I think that's always fun with an athlete. I think he's incredibly genuine, and I just love that he was genuinely confused about what they wanted him to do, and he was just like, can you please answer the question for me?
There's
I
a lot
love
of
that from
pressure
him.
in that moment
I'm
too. There's
saying.
a lot of pressure, and I know a lot of people are poking fun on him of him on
think
social
that's
media, and
ridiculous.
that's not nice. He was just asking a question. It was, a very nerve-wracking moment. I'm sure a big moment for him.
A lot of times people tell you don't ask questions. Like you're not told to ask questions like if you're going to seem like you're going to be stupid because you're asking the question. And a lot of times that will put you in bad situations throughout your life because you fail to ask a question. You don't know if you're in the right place. You miss out on opportunities. You know, things don't get turned in when they're supposed to. Ask the question. Don't be embarrassed. And I think look at a guy like Keon Coleman doing it. I think it's a good message.
Hey, at the end of the day, he's getting paid.
He is. Didn't he?
Laughing all the way to the bank.
Is he the first rounder that was wearing the big coat?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. The guy he has zero filter between personality and showing it off to people, and I think that's fantastic.
Great job today by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio. Thank you, sir. Pleasure. Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes.
Birds.
My hat. Yes.
Dan, you were awesome.
Oh, no. You were. Pleasure.
Birds are real.
Birds. We used to have a guy that texted or used the mic drop feature to say birds. Might still be in the machine somewhere. We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. For all of us, until tomorrow morning at 7, have a great Friday Eve, St. Louis.